What is up, everybody? Thursday night. Guys, let me know how the audio is. You guys are all my engineers out there. Great to have everybody here. Shout out to Eric R68 in the chat. Eric writes me on Twitter, now known as X, just moments ago. He says, Mooch, the Silent Hill transmission bored me to tears. Don't spend too much time on that. And I don't want to talk too much about the Xbox handheld. Eric, your new name will be the producer. You will now be the producer of the show. Shout out to Eric. Great guy, by the way. Always talk to him. I love it. I get so many notes. I get so many notes on the show. It's so great. Mooch, do me a favor. Let's keep these topics to around 12 minutes, okay? All right? I've been doing this a while, listening to these shows. It's difficult, folks. You know, there's some news out there. And I invite these guests on. These are fantastic guests, by the way.
What I tell them, Mooch? I'm like, man, I don't go to your job at McDonald's and tell you how to salt the fucking fries, right? Don't tell us how to podcast. We've been doing this for a very long time.
That's right.
And, we don't need any of that nonsense.
Leave it to the professionals, exactly. Right, Crap? That's right. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, it's fantastic. Well, it's great to have everybody here tonight. Eric, we're just messing with you. Shout out to Hindsight with Hustle. Great to see Hustle back out there. Hustle, let me know when you're going to join the show again. Shout out to everybody out there. I see Patman Jones, Kings out there, Kratos99, Neil Augusto. Great to see you. JC 2013. Guys, we got a great panel for you. As you can see, as we continue through the intros, more and more of the panel showing up. So I want to say what's up to everybody. Guys, right above that outstanding description right there, you'll see a few buttons you should hit. There's a like button. All right, there's a subscribe button. Your name comes up in lights. It's worthwhile. It's worthwhile to hit the buttons. Nonetheless, we've got a great show for you. Let me start with the one and only, the great Crap Gamer who's here. Now, Crap, I know you like to be last, but you were actually not first, but pretty early.
Yeah, that's first for me, so that's the most important thing. So, yeah, you know what, it's funny because I like going back and forth on X all day with, on certain days when there's stuff to talk about. And just, the past week just kind of gets you hot under the collar a little bit.
It does.
Anyway.
Yes.
And so it's like, there's always a lot of stuff to talk about. And, especially when I'm kind of annoyed with things like, in general, like I'm an Xbox fan. I prefer Xbox, but they do so many weird things, like their whole "this is an Xbox" campaign. But it's like, I have an actual Xbox, and my Xbox games that are on there won't play on these other fucking things. So how can that thing be an actual Xbox? It's like the math ain't mathing, and it really is. It bugs me. It's like they're trying to piggyback off the Xbox name, which was popular at one point, and they've totally ruined it. But now it's like, okay, well, this PC handheld's an Xbox, and I'm like, the fuck it is. I can't play any of my games on there. It's a PC handheld. But people get so excited for this stuff, and they're like, oh man, this is really, they're gonna really amp things up. And I'm like, man, Steam Deck sold 3.5 million. Asus ROG has sold 500,000. These things aren't selling for shit, and you guys think this Xbox branded PC handheld is going to suddenly light the world on fire? What makes people think that? If I were to guess, I'd say under 1 million is going to sell of this Asus Xbox.
Yeah.
That's my early prediction. I think probably in line with the ROG Ally or whatever, you know what I mean? Because it's going to be $600. And you can't play your Xbox games on it. You know what I mean?
Why is $600? Why is $600 not a big deal when we put Xbox on there? But $700 for the PS5 Pro was a huge no across. When rumors of $700 for the Pro was coming out, there was articles written for weeks not to buy this thing.
And I think the reason is because and this happens to both sides of the coin, right? It's like, the people will obviously argue what their side has best going for them at that point, and then the same thing with the other side. So it's when this outrageous price of the PS5 Pro obviously comes out, it's like people are freaked out about it. But when a possible $600 OEM Xbox handheld that isn't even an Xbox play Xbox games, then all of a sudden, nobody says a word from that camp. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. That's all kind of weird to me with this whole thing. I'm very interested to see how Microsoft handles this, because to me, it's a logistical nightmare. People think Xbox, they're like, oh, well, this will play my Xbox games. Well, no, it won't. No,
it won't. It really won't.
You can see they're touting we've got over 1,000 Play Anywhere titles, but you look at the titles, and it's a lot of mobile games, a lot of shovelware, these little tiny games. You know what I mean? I mean, it's got a lot of Xbox first-party stuff, but it's the rest of the stuff is just not great. You know, it's like this stuff that who cares at the end of the day? You know, it's like
Yeah.
even big stuff like Minecraft isn't Play Anywhere. So it's like clearly they want the money for that. You know, and you're never gonna like the stuff that I'm playing. You know, right now that stuff isn't Play Anywhere. So and I don't want to play PC versions anyway. I want to play if I'm gonna get a handheld, I want to play the library that I already have because that's the part of the whole value prospect for me is I don't gotta buy games for it because I already got a shit ton.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the value prospect of that for me. So like to me, it's just like Microsoft is so on brand with being confusing, even with their leaks. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this stuff is leaking or whatever. I realize that it's not officially announced yet, but they really shouldn't call it an Xbox if it can't play your actual Xbox games, like console games. So,
well, that just seems like seems like what it should. Exactly what you said. 1 + 1 = 2 there, right? But for some reason, they're kind of rolling. People just kind of want to keep this Xbox thing alive and say that this is what they're going to do, and they're revolutionizing everything, and things are going to change. But then, as we get closer and closer to it, it seems like Xbox is trying to go further and further down. Not only the third-party route, which that's not news anymore, right, as far as the software goes, but it looks like they're geting closer and closer to wanting to leave hardware, too, exactly, in the first party.
So here's the thing that I've noticed a lot, and I know we're still doing introductions, but you see these articles pop up, and people are like, there's no stock of Xboxes in this territory or that territory.
Right.
You know, and I've long theorized that Microsoft stopped production on their Xbox consoles because they had too many, and then what you do is you just burn those off for a while. So either they're burning those off or they're leaving those territories, right? Because nobody's buying them,
right?
I see some people argue with me that they're just selling so well. We know they're not because every quarter they're down more than they were the previous quarter, right? And they weren't that hot that previous quarter. So it's like, they keep going down, and then we know that like pretty much in North America they only sold 2.7 million total all of 2024. So that's not good. And people are like, they could have either stopped production or they could be phasing them out in certain areas. Like my thought is they're probably going to do OEM Xboxes. And you remember that leak back in before Microsoft held that event about losing exclusives and going to PlayStation, and there was that guy who was like, they're going to reveal Indiana Jones and he looks like Harrison Ford, but he's voiced by Troy Baker, and Microsoft is pretty much going third party, and they're even going third party with the hardware. All that stuff ended up being true. It's coming true, like all of it. So it's like, again, basically what this means is, and I know a lot of people don't realize this, but companies like Microsoft, Sony, they will subsidize their platform for us, right? So they'll sell us an Xbox Series X for $500, but really they lose $200 a piece on those. And the reason why they do that is because they want us to buy the games, buy the subscriptions, pay for the online, pay for the microtransactions, and that's how they make up the money, right? Well, if you do an OEM, the third parties aren't making money from that stuff, so they are going to charge an enormous amount for their hardware, so you're going to end up paying even more for the hardware. And Microsoft is going to be like, well, if you really want to play our games, you can play on a PlayStation or a PC or the cloud or these expensive Xbox branded OEMs, and that's not good in my opinion. It's like, look at the Steam machines, man. Those things failed because they were OEM. I mean, that's one of the reasons, but
well, I got to give it to you.
People making them.
You've probably got the panel right now writing notes, being like, "Oh, I'm hot on this one. I'm hot on this subject. This subject's got me wired right here." So you really kind of went through it. I think you made some valid points. By the way, the audience seems to agree with you. I got even
it's just I'm frustrated as a fan most of all. It's because like, and the main reason is they're like, and the thing that I hate the most, which is when people go, "Well, just switch to PlayStation, you fanboy." It's like, I got a PlayStation. I got a bunch of games on there too. But the point is, I got fucking 1,500 games installed on my Xbox, and if they decide to shut shit down, most of those games aren't playing because when there's no internet, my Xbox don't let me play shit. You know what I mean? So it's not so much that he hates Xbox. Just goes, I got all these games and shit that are going to be unplayable. Even the disc-based games, most of them don't have anything on there. The data on Xboxes, right? They do on PlayStation, but not on Xbox. So yeah, it's like I have an Xbox, but if they decide to shut shit down, you're not going to be able to play it. And I'm not talking about game servers because they'll keep game servers up, but there's specific like Xbox servers that you have to log into for your gamer score, all this stuff, make sure you're not cheating, authentication, all this kind of stuff. And people don't realize it. Like that stuff will go. They're not going to keep that stuff up if something goes south. Right. And some people have mentioned, well, they might, just do cloud gaming as a way to keep your games. I don't care about cloud game. That's not keeping my games to me.
Right.
It's not. Playing them, giving me a PC copy of them isn't my games either. I don't want to play on a PC. You know what I'm saying? I bought these games on an Xbox. I want to play on console hardware. Now, if they want to discuss and give everybody their games on a PlayStation, which I think would be impossible, then go ahead and do that, and I'll shut the fuck up and get out of the way. You know what I mean? But I don't see that happening. Just like, so it is what it is. But go ahead and carry on.
Well, crap. Listen, I love that. That's Crap's rant every Crossfire, and I absolutely love it because it gets the audience fired up. The audience is completely fired up. Crap, I appreciate that. Porter Rock, you just heard what Crap said. P-Rock, listen, I got to give you credit where credit's due. You've literally done outstanding work on your channel as well. You are literally blowing up. You're doing a lot of different videos every week, and a lot of what Crap just talked about, you are hitting on high notes for the past 2 weeks. So, P-Rock, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight? And I'm sure you got a lot to sound off on yourself.
Wow, appreciate it. I was like, man, we going straight to the topics. Crap Game was not playing around.
He was not playing around, man.
He went high on fire. I'm like, okay, he didn't even allow the referee to do the intro.
Right.
He just punched the
Can't
guy.
even get in there. It's like that's classic Crap right there, P-Rock.
Yeah. Great points. I'm just gonna say thank you so much for the invite. I'm glad I had the opportunity to be able to jump on the show, and let's get these topics going and let's move on to the rest of the panel.
Appreciate it, P-Rock. We got Nib here. Nib, listen, I was talking to the great Death Singer before the show. Nib, we were concerned because what you guys might not know is you learn something new every day. In New York and over in the United States, we shifted our clocks last Saturday. So it's 7:15 right now, p.m. Eastern time, New York. And Death Singer says, Mooch, it's 11 o'clock here. And I said, oh my God. I said, I don't know if Nib knows that we moved our clocks up, but you guys didn't. So Nib, I appreciate you being here, buddy. I didn't know if you knew. That's why I sent the Mooch symbol out there on X. But as Nib literally, let's see, he's probably switched microphones. Nib, I don't know if you can hear us, but glad you're with us, buddy. How you doing? Nib, you got to check your microphone. We are muted. There you are.
I literally just came straight back in. I think it cut out on my app. Yeah, I'm good. I am micromanaging being on this and doing trading at the same time. So it is.
Well, at least you explained. Now we know that the trading is that's where the real bread and butter is, right there, Nib. Great to have you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to be on.
Well, great to have you, buddy. We got the great Death Singer. Singer, thank you for teaching us a little bit how Europe and England in specific, when we were talking about it, they do their daylight savings time 3 weeks after we do in the States. So I appreciate that. You really do learn something new every day. I thought we all did that at the same time, hence Earth. But nonetheless, Singer, great to be here, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure being the center of time.
You really are, that Singer.
Being 0.00. Yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, it's great to be on. This handheld thing has me. Well, we'll get into it. This handheld thing has me. I got some words on that.
Okay, well, that's great. The great Craig, you guys know him as Craig the Tech Guy. Craig reaches out to me and says, Mooch, listen, if you got an extra seat, can I join you guys? I said, Craig, of course. Welcome back to the show, buddy. 2 weeks in a row. Great to have you, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? No problem reaching out. Thanks for having me on. And 2 weeks in a row, I'm starting to get warm here. So
absolutely,
yeah, thanks for having me. Got some good topics. Shout out to you and in the panel and to the chat as well. Make sure you hit that like button and share.
Well, I appreciate that. Let's go. So, Porter Rock, let me go to you real quick on this because, Crap really did put a lot of things in perspective, and I will go through the entire panel before we hit another subject here because it really is a thing here. And I'm kind of combining topics here, a little bit of the handheld situation here. Okay, the rumored Xbox handheld, which is now going to be, it's supposedly actually going to be built by Asus, seems to lose more interest as more information leaks out. I mean, P-Rock, does this handheld, which is not going to be playing Xbox dedicated games on it, it seems like it's going to be a Game Pass device. Is this going to be something that moves the needle for Xbox fans? Does it move people back over to the platform? What's Xbox going to do if this doesn't make numbers? Does it hurt the fact of the dedicated console rumored to launch in 2027? P-Rock. Testing P-Rock.
Hello.
Oh, there he is. That's all right, buddy. It's okay.
I think we have to step back a little bit and see we all have to admit something, and I think this is the problem. We have to admit Microsoft has not been successful at a hardware strategy for 2 generations in a row. They just haven't.
That's right.
The Xbox One is downhill, and they haven't been able to recover it. Right now, they're saying Xbox hardware is down to like the OG Xbox sales range of like 25 million, maybe just under 30 million. So I think they're at the point where they don't want to strike 3. I don't think Satya's interested in strike 3. No one's going to convince the shareholders to try one more swing at the plate, but they can't totally get out of hardware, just like with a snap of a finger, like they did with Zune or with their other products, right? So I think the next best step that they created was, all right, this is what we'll do. We'll go to vendors who their strategy is hardware, like Asus, Dell, Lenovo. That's their purpose, and let them design this console, and we just provide the software. Pretty much what they're doing with PCs and laptops. They don't make laptops or desktops. They let the vendors do that. They let Dell, they let Lenovo, they let Asus. They make all that. Here's our operating system. And I think what Microsoft is doing is they're adding possibly another mode, you can say, right? Because if you look at Windows, it has a tablet mode, right? So if you buy a Surface tablet or any tablet from Dell and whatever, and you're thinking, okay, this is a tablet application, but that's literally Windows still. Because my laptop accidentally went into tablet mode, and I don't know how it did it, but it was literally tablet mode. So it's built into the OS, right? So they're probably going to do like a console style, OS, like UI, similar, like console mode, but it's literally the Windows OS. And they're going to let the vendors be like, hey, you guys deal with it. I think the handheld is the test bed. And what I mean by that is Asus already makes a Rogue Ally.
Yeah.
So let them make the handheld, and we'll provide a more optimized OS. Vice just throwing in a regular Windows thing. Microsoft will provide the OS, the optimized OS, for handheld gaming, and see how that turns out. But make no mistake, it's pretty much a PC, pretty much what you're getting already with Asus and Lenovo, MSI, the Claw, or the Legion Go. It's the same thing, except now it's Xbox branded. And I don't think this is to try to get back into the hardware race, but to kind of say, hey, we still make hardware, but we're no longer going to take the financial losses that goes with it, right? We're not going to try to subsidize these devices where now we have to report to shareholders that, hey, we're down 29% and we're losing money and, whatever, yada, yada, yada. I think they're looking at it from, as you can say, the Steam Deck strategy, right? Steam Deck only sold, I think they're saying right now, 3.7 million over a 3-year period, right?
Right.
But that's not hurting Steam Deck at all, because the Steam Deck's not meant to grow the market. They probably sold every Steam Deck at profit from day one. And if you want it, cool. If you don't, it's all right. Doesn't hurt.
But what is the Xbox branded, like you were saying, P-Rock? And guys, jump in if you want, because P-Rock made a couple of points there. P-Rock, but my question for you is, what good is the Xbox branded handheld if it's just basically an Asus ROG Ally X? Because
I think the next step, if it's kind of decent interested, they're going to do the same type of strategy with their console. You're going to have a hardware box that says Xbox console made by Asus, made by Dell, Lenovo, whoever's willing to, that wants to be an OEM Xbox manufacturer. But it's pretty much no different than buying a gaming laptop. It's going to have the same integrated silicon, like the way a gaming laptop is. Everything's all integrated with GPU, CPU, and all that stuff. But now it's going to be in a shell of an Xbox. Microsoft will provide the software, right? And they get to say to the fan base, oh yeah, we still have a console. Yeah, we didn't get our console. But in reality, you sold us a pre-built PC in every sense of the word.
Okay, so
and that's their only way out. And here's the thing: if it fails, let's say if that strategy fails, it won't be Microsoft to say, hey, we're no longer making this console. It will be Asus saying, yeah, we're going to stop making these consoles. It would be Dell saying, yeah, we're not doing this no more. It would be Lenovo saying now, and Microsoft would be like, hey, guys, we tried.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
They're mitigating the risk. And,
exactly.
Because they don't like the numbers. And it is a way to keep them kind of in the game, so to speak, albeit you can say outside looking in. I don't know enough about the handheld market. I'm not used to having small things in my hand. That's just the way I roll. But anybody who buys one or has the Asus ROG or the Steam Deck, just yeah. What do you think about it? Does it do mirror imaging to your TV, or is it just you're there, you're on the couch or hanging out at a picnic and you're playing the games?
But Craig,
yeah, I agree that they're just mitigating the risk, which I think is. I don't have
Craig,
an issue
the thing about it that I would just question what P-Rock was saying. P-Rock, when you were like, listen, they let Lenovo do it, they let Asus do it, and then it's their fault if it doesn't work. The thing is that Xbox has already proven that they make hardware, they make Surface devices, they make consoles. So my point is that by them already handing the keys off to a third-party vendor to make the hardware, that's me already seeing them wave the white flag on hardware. Like I think.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but right now it's just a rumor, though, right? I mean,
right. Well, I don't know if it's a rumor. There's certain people reporting in the know that are saying.
Here's the thing. We got, like I said in the beginning, we gotta stop pretending Microsoft's successful hardware. They're done. They don't want.
Disagree with
there's only so many ways they can tell you, brother, man, we're not good at hardware. So we're gonna get out. I mean, I honestly don't understand the community. There's only I mean, does Phil Spencer have to like jump on a podcast and curse us out? I mean, there's no other way. Like, what do you want from Microsoft?
Right.
In order for them to tell, they're not gonna specifically say the words, "We are completely a bunch of idiots. We don't know what we're doing." That's obviously they're not gonna do that. But like we see the MPDs, we see the sales chart. We know what happens when a product doesn't sell, right? Microsoft's not interested in their own hardware anymore because hardly anyone buys it, or not enough people are buying it to justify this same process for them. There's just not enough people buying Xbox hardware. Now they're not completely bowing out. They're going to try to save face a little bit, and they're going to use these OEM manufacturers. But if this doesn't work, it's going to be the OEM manufacturers that say, yeah, this ain't working for us because hardly anyone's buying it, you know?
I agree with
and
that.
what that means is Microsoft can say, hey, it's Dell that quit. It's Asus that quit. We
didn't quit. Yeah, they quit on us.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
We're not supposed to stop the hardware.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? We're providing software. We just need people to do the hardware, and they don't want to do it. Hey, there's nothing we can do about that. And I think that's how they're going to find their way out. Like, kind of like, yeah, we quit hardware, but we're going to use OEM as a scapegoat. But if it works, then hey, either way, it's a win-win situation for Microsoft. If it works, hey, good. Everybody gets their console. The OEM managers, they're the ones that are going to be doing it. They're going to be the ones that have to deal with the hardware profit, hardware sales. Microsoft does what they do best. Provide the software, provide Game Pass. But if it doesn't work, you know, it's kind of like what happens if, you know, Amazon Fire Sticks, you know, shit the bed. Does that impact Game Pass? No, that has nothing to do with Microsoft. Like, hey, sorry, Amazon. I guess life sucks for you. You know, if Samsung TVs went away, doesn't matter for Microsoft. Okay, that's one less TV brand.
Okay, so and that's fine, but there's still crap. You heard what Craig and P-Rock are saying. Crap. There's still a very strong rumor that 2027 is when Xbox is planning to launch their new console. So I mean, is this part of the technological leap we were told?
Well, the thing was that you gotta if you read between the lines a little bit. So Sarah Bond said that, which if you look into her a little bit, and I'm not like attacking her personally, but she comes from T-Mobile. She was like a person that worked at T-Mobile. She got promoted to where she is in just 5 years, which is like unheard of, right? So like she's not a gamer. She doesn't game. She doesn't know. Apparently, a lot of the stuff that's getting pushed is like her will. Right, and they brought her whole biggest leap ever thing up to Phil Spencer, and he's like, you could tell he kind of got this look in his eye. Well, yeah, that's Sarah saying that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's going to be like people expect like this huge, powerful thing. I think they're going to have Copilot and some AI stuff in there, and that's what they're going to be talking about.
AI for sure. Yeah,
a leap. Yeah, that's. I mean, look at the stuff that they do. Right, it's like. Everything that Microsoft does is cloud and AI, and you know those are the things that they're betting on. They couldn't give a shit less about an Xbox, a piece of hardware called Xbox. So you know I don't expect and their diminishing returns to be clear anyway, right? Like I'm honest about that. Like I think games look good on the PS5 Pro. I think games look good on the Xbox Series X, but I'll play on a Series S and I'm fine with it too. Right? It's like these things look, it's like at some point, that was bound to happen. We're not going to get that big leap like we did from PS2 to PS3 or Xbox to Xbox 360, And so, what I think is happening is Microsoft could still decide to make a base Xbox console, but I don't think that they're going to sell them worldwide the way that consoles are sold now. I think they're going to do what they're doing with the Surface, which is you're only going to be able to like go online and get them. Like if you look at certain areas, and I have people who watch my videos in like Europe and stuff like that, and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm in Germany and Xbox doesn't exist here." Right? You can only buy an Xbox online here. You can't go into the store and buy an Xbox. There's no Xbox section. There's none of that. There's no advertising. It does not exist here. Right? And then there's also rumors that they sold only 200,000 units in all of Europe outside of UK last year, right? Which is piss poor. 200,000 units, right? I mean, that's beyond terrible. So, again, they might just be taking it in their own hands, saying people that want it, get it, but we're not going to, bankroll it. We're not going to do it. So I also think the whole reason why they're trying to bridge the gap with Windows is because they know they're going to sell so few of these consoles that developers are going to pull out, and they're not going to want to make Xbox versions of games. How do you get around that, Mooch? Well, they're going to make versions for PC for sure. So, you have this PC shit on your thing, and they're trying to just do a Windows store, right? That's what they're trying. They were talking about that today. They're like, play anywhere. And all the leaks that we're seeing is they're trying to unify this. And so an Xbox store is a Windows store, right? Because what's going to happen is they're going to use this and say, yeah, we're putting our games on PlayStation, but look, you can play Horizon Zero Dawn on an Xbox through the Windows Store, right? And that's going to be a big play for them, and there's going to be a lot of Xbox fanboys that jump up and down for that. The problem is it's going to be, a PC version, first of all. The second problem is, like, the Xbox games are specifically made for PlayStation on PlayStation dev kits. Just doing it for, playing stuff on, I'm not sure how that's going to work, like a pre-built thing or whatever. I'm not a PC guy, but it's not my thing, but it's like, that seems sloppier to me. And also PlayStation games aren't day one, whereas I'm going to go ahead and assume that everything that Microsoft puts out is going to be day one on PlayStation going forward.
Right.
So, you also have that, but they're going to try to play that, and then people are going to act like it's this huge deal. In reality, it's not, because if people wanted to buy a PC and play these games on PC, they could have been doing it for years already. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I had a friend who was like, yeah, I can't wait to play those PlayStation games on, on my Xbox in the future. And I'm like, that you could have been doing that on the PC. That's all this is going to be. It's just going to say Xbox on it, right? It reminds me of that Key and Peele sketch where the guy's like, yeah, we'll get jobs at the bank, and then we'll work there for 30 years, and then we just walk out the door like nothing happened, and the guy's like, that's called a job. That's called a PC, right? That's called a PC. Like, if you want to play those, you can do that now. They sell form factor console-looking PCs. Right? Like, that's what it is. It's nothing new. It's not some big gotcha, right? It's actually Microsoft admitting that their console ain't shit and they can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like what they're doing is waving the white flag. They're saying, we can't do it. We can't compete. And, we're not even going to really try. And you know what? It sort of also reminds me of they could be doing this. They could be trying to make it such a poor prospect to own an Xbox that people won't care if they stop making them, like Games with Gold, and I've gone over this with you before, Mooch. Remember, Games with Gold to me, I didn't mind getting a few games, smaller games that maybe I would never buy, right? And they stay in your library as long as you're a Gold member or whatever.
Right.
I was fine with it. They were lesser known titles or whatever, but the titles got so lesser known and I guess so bad that people were just like, please just stop Games with Gold. And what did we get in its replace? Nothing, right? It's like people cheered for them to take away something and give us nothing in return.
Yeah,
So,
and it's like, this, and shout out to Boss. I think I know who Boss, what's up, buddy? I've known Boss a while. He says, but they're making another console. You can't live in what if. I can say Sony won't be here because they don't sell enough software, which they don't. They actually do, Boss. But the thing is you as an Xbox fan and the Xbox camp has been saying what ifs for a very long time. What if the next console's got this? What if we do that? What if the PC idea and day one works? It's a lot of what ifs on both sides. But
whose word are we taking that they're making another piece of hardware? Are we taking Phil Spencer's
that's it.
word?
That's what I said. Well, that's where.
Are we taking his word for that? But how come we couldn't take his word with it's just 4 games,
Right?
Or his word with
That's
we're buying ZeniMax to give us exclusives where Game Pass exists,
right?
Or we'd like to set a better expectation than our fans having to wonder if games are going here or there or some other.
That's what I mean,
later, right?
And that's what I mean by because I said that to boss. I said you're assuming there's going to be another console. And the thing about it is that I'm reading more and more into the it's it's into the gray area here, guys. Okay, but if Xbox is notorious for when things don't work, they end things. They just they stop producing them. We use these examples all the time.
It's not that far of a even I like Jez Gordon. I listen to his podcast sometimes too, and he was talking about. He says part of him said it wouldn't surprise him or shock him totally if they don't have more hardware coming out. Right? They could just say nope. You know what I mean? Plans they could
That's what I'm saying. That I've heard that from multiple
time.
Yeah,
and if you guys want to know how easy that would be for them, go back to the FTC trial. You can look up. They had a controller called codenamed Sibyl, and it was going to have haptics and all this kind of stuff. It was going to release with the refreshed Xbox Series X, which was codenamed Brooklyn, and it was like a cylinder type console. It had some minor upgrades, like it had better Wi-Fi and some, and it had more hard drive space and things like that. It was actually something that looks like they put a little time and effort into, right? And they canceled those things. And and they canceled those things, and instead they just spray painted the black on white and caulked over the disk drive and put that out. So they didn't try. They're not trying. Nothing they're doing screams that they're trying with hardware right now, right? Whenever you hear them talk about growth, it's just PC and cloud, and that could be a little misleading because cloud can grow, by 10,000 users, and they're gonna talk it up as this huge growth. Right, because what else are they going to talk up to investors, right? Or PC can increase by such and such, and they're going to talk that up because what else can they talk up to investors? This is why Microsoft wants people to sign into an Xbox account when you play Forza Horizon 5 on a PlayStation, right? Because everything's an Xbox. So if they get another 30 million people playing this fucking game on PlayStation, that's going to look good. Never mind that it's. It's really just kind of a workaround or whatever. It's not really an accurate thing. They're really kind of taking advantage of Sony being able to sell consoles, and they can't. You know what I mean? And listen, Sony will go out there and take their cut of the money, and they'll go and they'll go and buy more exclusives, and they'll go and do the things that they want to do, for whatever they want to invest in. And I just feel like Sony is more. And listen, no company really gives a shit, but I still feel like Sony actually, in terms of understanding the gamer, I think they understand gamers a bit more than Microsoft. Microsoft, all their moves seem very much like a corporate move, right? Like everything they're doing. Whenever you Satya Nadella tweeting out about Copilot, that dude doesn't play no Xbox. I don't give a fuck about no Copilot on an Xbox or AI stuff on an Xbox. Again, it's like they're all over the place, only trying to shoehorn the stuff that they are into this thing, and it's really making it less attractive the more that they do it. You know what I mean? It's for me anyway, it's just I want a game console. I want to plug it in and I want to play my fucking games.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't want to side boot some other store. I don't want to fuck with people on a keyboard and mouse or in a hacked lobby or where they can, pirate games on it. You know what I mean? I don't want to fucking run all the stuff that you need, antiviruses and all this shit on my console. You know what I mean? I just want to play my games.
So what you just described, and I'll go to him next. Death Singer is describing the hangout that you have.
The PC.
The great Death Singer. Singer, you said you were very, very excited to talk about this handheld. What do you think? I mean, realistically, you heard P-Rock, you heard Craig, you heard Crap. I mean, is this a situation where you as a PC gamer, are you excited for a handheld that's not even really a dedicated Xbox? It looks like it's going to have an Xbox logo on it and be an Asus ROG Ally X box.
It's a complete train wreck, right? So here, it's a train wreck, right? I gave him the path to success, and they completely fucked up.
I told them they should listen to you,
right? Because I've said this before: the handheld gaming market is only going to grow. It's going to double and triple in size, right? But 2032, they reckon, is going to be there, right?
Okay.
And it is growing because you just look at Nintendo. That's why do you think MSI just recently got in on the game? Everyone and their mama wants to make a handheld now. Now, you fucked up because, one, you didn't make it yourself,
Yes.
and you didn't put the Xbox operating system on there.
Agreed.
Now, the Xbox operating system is not the same as the Windows operating system. These are two completely different entities. The Windows operating system is what I have on my PC right now. The Xbox operating system is something completely different. It's just based on that. Right? So what you could have done is bring over that operating system, which is a lot smoother. Ask anyone who has a Steam Deck, and you loaded Windows on there, and it's a complete shitfest. So you go back to the Steam OS, which is actually designed for that kind of thing and is super smooth. Okay. So everyone establishes that. So then not only do you fuck it up by making someone else do it, not only do you not put the Xbox OS on there, but then also you don't play your own games on there when you should be able to have access to your entire Xbox library on there to make it appealing to someone who plays Xbox. Okay, so you fucked up there. The price is whatever, who gives a shit? But currently, from what they're saying, all they're saying is this is a clone of a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally. Basically, you could go buy something better right now, and it'll do the exact same thing. This whole cloud gaming, play anywhere, all that Steam Epic, no one gives a shit. If you want to have Steam on a handheld, go get yourself a Steam Deck.
That's right.
That's just reality. So they completely missed the mark, and it's really annoying because you had the opportunity to maybe make some success, but now you have no success because people. If I sit there and go, now, do I want a Steam Deck or do I want this new Asus thing? I'm going to take the Steam Deck every time because I got all the same games you have, no difference. I can play everything you could play, but I've already got it.
Yeah.
And it does stuff better than you. So they completely fucked the pooch on this one. And shout out to Xbox, you deserve all the success and failure you get from this thing because this ain't gonna sell.
You know, and it's funny.
There's
So
no way this
that's
is
the
gonna
I
sell.
agree. Nib, I'll let you have the mic now because I know you got a lot to say on this as well. You've been going back and forth on Twitter for days and hours at a time on this. But I mean, when it comes down to it, I do agree with that singer. The fact that they're not doing the hardware, I think that's the biggest nail in the coffin right before this thing even launches. But Nib, what do you think when you hear this? And like I say, the latter part of the question, Nib, for you is not only what your thoughts are on the handheld, but really, how does this affect the 2027 console and more?
I'll just say to begin with, the only people who pivot more than Microsoft are the Xbox influencers. Because I will say, pertaining to the handheld in particular, you had like Ryan McCaffrey. You know, it's completely not viable and handheld. There's no point in them doing it. It's going to be dead in the water. They should definitely do it. It's an amazing strategy. I'm going to get the X-Boy, and you got Jez Gordon. Like, if it doesn't play Xbox games, then there's no point. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not even going to get it to. This is great. This is how they have to do it first. Like, this is the best way to enter into the handheld market. Like, bro, I'm telling you, I've got whiplash right now from these opinion changes. Like, there's so many of them. I'm just like, like,
yeah, you don't know. Yeah, it's
you
true.
know, you're like, what the hell, man? Like, you're just getting flip flopped around like a bloody merry-go-round. But anyway, yeah, I have to just. I would just reconfirm the opinions of Death Singer. I would just say, like, genuinely, I was actually interested in getting a handheld if it did play the Xbox games. Because
Yes.
why not, right?
Why
Like,
not?
It's something I could take away from me on holiday or whatever, just around the house in fucking. But the fact that it is just another, Steam Deck or whatever, again, like, fine, maybe it could still be of interest if it's like much better than those or has better value proposition or whatever. I find that like a difficult premise to kind of predict because, for example, the Steam Deck, a few of the models are loss leaders. They actually take a loss on the hardware. So, looking at it from that perspective, and if Asus or someone else is making the piece of hardware, I can't see them taking a loss on their hardware like that. So I don't know. We'll see. I have a feeling Steam Deck is still going to be the best option. But yeah,
I
the
agree.
fact that it doesn't play Xbox. Yeah, the fact that it doesn't play Xbox games, what a missed opportunity. And I don't know. It's just them. Again, again, if it's a good piece of hardware, fine, but there's so much more potential that they could have tapped into that they're going to miss again, and it's just going to flounder again. I think it's not going to have the numbers that they anticipate or that other people do, and it will just be another thing that is going to
Less than 1 million.
lead them.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Less than $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, and potentially,
I have a question.
Go ahead, P-Rock.
Because all of you are saying Microsoft missed like they missed the mark, they missed the potential. What potential are you guys talking about?
Well, I think if they had, like for me anyway, if you could play your digital library on the thing, right? I think that's some potential there.
Natively,
you know?
though. Natively,
Yeah,
right?
natively.
Yeah.
Like, not streaming it, not cloud
so-
stuff, but if it was just
so-
like something
Yeah,
affordable, like affordable in my opinion, $400 or $500, could play your games natively. I think that would be something that could have some potential for some people, especially, you can, if it's just an Xbox, it plays your fucking Xbox games, I could see that. A lot of people have kind of asked for stuff like that. That would maybe even pique my interest. The thing that doesn't pique my interest is, $600 PC handheld that's called an Xbox, because it's, I think that's going to confuse. That's going to confuse a lot of people. And Microsoft is like the king of confusion because they always do this, right? It's like they cannot not confuse people. It wouldn't shock me if they came out with a campaign that says this is not an Xbox now, right? Because you have that's what they would do, right? Like how many times have they really kind of confused people? Go back to the Xbox One, right? And they're like, okay, they were trying to convey their policies for Xbox Ones, and we still don't know what those policies were 100%. You know that, Mooch? Like, what was the check-in? Somebody said 24 hours, somebody said a week, somebody said a month. Right?
Yeah,
we never really got
that.
Yeah, we never got the whole idea of with the used games or how that was going to work. Like they really never, even with this whole game thing, right? Like they should just come out and say every fucking thing is going to be on PlayStation, every fucking thing from here on out, right? Instead, Phil beats around the bush and he's like, well, there's things that we've already published that won't be. Well, no shit, you're not going to put Crackdown and Redfall on PlayStation because it would cost more than it would make. Nobody's going to buy those shitty games. Right? You got to be careful and put out good games, and then hopefully people, go out and buy them. But I think the big problem is Sony is going to start that have their own release cadence, right? And people that buy PlayStation for the Sony games and stuff. Also, the third parties are starting to get in a little bit more of a role. So some of these Xbox games are going to probably fall on deaf ears. I've already kind of predicted this. I think Forza Horizon 5 is going to do well because there's it's the best racing franchise out there. So it's perpetually in the top 15 on most played Xbox games since it launched 4 years ago. It's still in the top 15 right now. Like, you can look it up. It's like got millions and millions of players. But so that game's going to obviously do well. Stuff like Halo and Gears might do well initially, but then people are going to go back to the Call of Duties and the Fortnites and all that stuff. It's like what happened on PC. Remember, Halo Infinite shot up to 250,000 players, and then a month later nobody was playing it. Same thing with the Master Chief Collection. It did well initially, and then it's because those games, I think, captured the imagination of like Xbox fans, and Xbox fans stuck with them for that, and then they become less special and also worse when they change developers. Like 343 is no Bungie, and obviously the Coalition, while talented, I don't think they had the heart behind the Gears series. It's like they factually, those games got worse, and so that's a big problem. I can see that they're trying to go back and fix the Gears thing by doing a prequel. And, maybe that'll work. But I just don't see, like, that game is such a hardcore multiplayer game. I just don't see that catching on big time no matter how many platforms it releases on, So we'll see. Like, a lot of that stuff, Mooch. Hellblade 2, that's not going to be
Hellblade 2 is not going to move. That's not going to move the needle at all.
Avowed, that's not going to move Avowed's not going to move a needle on PlayStation. Like, there's most of the stuff they have, South of Midnight, these aren't going to be big sellers on PlayStation. So it really, at the end of the day, it didn't
That's
really.
The thing I think. Crap. I'm glad you said that, because I see some people that are fans in the chat. And
hold on.
Oh, go ahead, P-Rock.
So the one thing with crap. So I want to make sure. That this is not a gotcha moment. I just want people to really think what they're asking for, right? So main thing you mentioned, crap, was it doesn't play all your Xbox games. Now your Xbox Series X, it plays all your Xbox games, right?
Yeah.
I did want to respond to this.
But it's still not selling.
No, yeah, I agree.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I agree. On the,
Does everybody see what I'm saying?
Wait, say it again, P-Rock. What'd you say?
Yeah.
P-Rock, wait,
Plays
whoa.
on your Xbox games. No
let me
one's
just
really buying it. What makes you think the handheld is like it's
No,
most
it won't.
likely
Yeah.
even
Well,
if it did
listen, I
play
don't think they're
inside
going to
library,
sell a lot, but I think you could sell
Yeah.
5-10 million
but that's
of a
probably not
handheld.
that's probably not good
Yeah.
enough anymore.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know what they're I don't
So-
know what they're trying to get into,
see?
but I
Yeah.
think it's gonna. I think 5 or 10 million would be way more than the under $1 million that this OEM's gonna sell. I
Well,
don't
think
know.
about it
their-
this
their
way.
books. I just,
Think
you
about
know.
it this way: is 5 or 10 million, but Microsoft now has to fund because they have to do the hardware, they have to do the pipeline. They'll probably sell it at a loss to get it out there, or 100% of the risk goes on Asus. They have
Well,
zero risk.
I think if they're
No,
gonna,
it
I
wouldn't
think,
That's
be
what I think
100%
Microsoft
of
is
the
aiming
risk.
for, a zero risk business strategy. Because if Asus takes it on, that is on them. Microsoft, hey, we will, here's your username and password. You'll download the software from us. That's it. Everything else is on you. You coordinate with AMD. You coordinate the strategy.
Yeah.
You tell AMD how many, chipsets you want ordered. And if it stays on the shelf collecting dust, well, you Asus have to report that to your shareholders. That has nothing to do with us. We have zero, Microsoft has zero risk in this strategy. None. That's all on Asus. Asus has to decide that.
So
That's
I was
fine,
just
but
gonna
that's-
clarify.
but also,
Yeah.
I would also kind of point out that Xbox Series X had its and S had its best sales in 2021. In fact, the best sales for Xboxes ever that end of the year, that holiday. And the reason being was they released Halo, they released Forza Horizon 5, they released Flight Simulator. They had released like 4 or 5 first-party games to end out the year, and that was their biggest year, their biggest holiday ever. So I think, the fact that, they do have some games in the pipeline, I think that could help as well. If they're like, okay, well, and I understand that like this stuff isn't going to be exclusive, but, Xbox, Gears of War, Xbox, Halo, Xbox, you know what I mean? Like people hear that stuff and could gravitate them to pick up something along those lines, man. I mean, like, I just think that just the reason why the Switch is such a sell, I think the Switch 2 is going to outsell the Xbox within a year and a half. The Series X and S. I think it's gonna, and Microsoft is gonna put their games on there. Maybe it makes that look that much more attractive too. We'll see how that handles. It's like Microsoft does things that is sort of weird, like that. You know what I mean? They're like, well, let's come out with their own handheld, but hey, let's go ahead and put all of our shit on the handheld that's absolutely dominating everything. The Switch and the Switch 2. You know what I mean? Like you could just tell that everything Microsoft does is going to be on the Switch 2. And it's because Nintendo and Sony know how to market and sell their platform, and Microsoft doesn't. Microsoft would have taken 4 or 5 years, and it wouldn't have happened overnight. But if they would have released 4 or 5 big AAA bangers every single year for those 4 or 5 years, people would have started to believe it. As it is, people know that those games are going elsewhere. Even Starfield, right? Like they come out with some good games, but if they would have released, imagine like a cadence like this, they would have been like Starfield and Hellblade 2 and Indiana Jones, which is great, by the way. And then this year, if Outer Worlds 2 was exclusive, fucking Doom exclusive, right? You got Avowed, South America, you got all these fucking games and they're all exclusive. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I think you got 5 years of that, and people will get on board with your hardware. I don't care who you
crap.
are.
I do push. I push back just a little bit on that crap because you had 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and now we get to 2024, which is some of the games you mentioned, and a few that bleed into 25, and then there's probably going to be a gap again in 26. So not necessarily.
I think 26 is going to be bigger than 25. I think Fable, I think Gears of War, Perfect Dark, State of Decay 3. I think all these games are coming out next year.
I mean, State of Decay maybe in development hell. We don't know what's going on there.
I just saw an article saying that thing's closer to being released than we think.
Again, are we believing them? So
listen,
right?
I think that game is ready.
Well, here's my thing though, but my point though, crap, is I think we're all in this bubble, and a lot of us that listen to the show, and we read what's going on in the gaming media, we see this and that, but outside the lines, when you actually look at it, like Indiana Jones didn't do that well, right? It didn't sell that well even on PC. I don't think it's going to do well on PlayStation, to be honest with you. You look at other games like Starfield did well, I will say that, but I don't think it did as well as they wanted it to internally.
Listen, I mean, look, you got to
just
get some of that prestige going. Microsoft has to get over the hump, win some Game of the Year awards and stuff like that.
Well,
right?
that's it. Or any of the games that you thought
don't believe. Yeah, people don't believe Microsoft does a quality game. Like, listen, Astrobot is a great game. It won Game of the Year. It's not going to sell 10 million copies, right?
Right.
But it keeps people are like, well, PlayStation's fucking quality. Even in an off year, their game won Game of the Year. Microsoft needs to get in there and do that kind of thing where people start equating quality with Xbox titles, and they just don't do that right now. It's just like, oh, it's another Game Pass game. You know what I mean? Or Game Pass fodder, or whatever you want to say. You know what I mean? It's just like, I do honestly think that they're trying to have better games, because if you don't have well-received games, it doesn't matter how many platforms you put them on, they ain't going to sell. Right? I think that's why like Fable got delayed and stuff like that. If it's not fun and it's not going to be well-received, like if you put Fable on PS5 and it's a 69 rated game, nobody's going to buy it anyway.
Right.
Right. You've got to have great games. You know what I mean? It's like you've got to be able to have the games to back up what you're doing. So, again, I think they're honestly trying, but I think that they've given up on the hardware side.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I respond to, I was going to say, so I actually do agree with Porter Rock there. Like, when I say opportunity, I'm not saying that it's going to be a big success, because let's be honest, like Xbox from a console and hardware side is greatly diminished, right? That they're capitulating their market share. Basically people don't really want the device. But I always think, like, if you are gonna do something in the market, at least try and do something where maybe in the high performance range your competitor doesn't have an alternative. Because yes, they have the Portal, but it's not actually a native machine, right? And I do agree with Porter Rock that it is going to be more effort for them, obviously, to do their own hardware versus getting ASUS and just doing licensing. But I also don't think they have to sell it at a loss. I think they could still sell it at a small profit, similar to the PS5 Pro, and have it just be a niche, but that caters to a specific demographic and niche of that console market, enough to make them additional money, and at least have the chance to extract a different market share, because there isn't anything else like it in the console space outside of Switch. Obviously, that's not high performance. So yeah, I agree with him. I don't think it would be a big seller either way, but at least there is an opportunity that it could have more penetration in the market than something that already exists multiple times over, right? So that's why I think they should have still given an Xbox handheld an opportunity.
So I'll say this: I think I will call them PC handhelds. So that way we know the group we're talking about: Steam Deck, MSI Claw, Lenovo Legion Go, soon to be Xbox handhelds. These handhelds, to me, are having the same dilemma. If you remember what PlayStation handhelds have, and the dilemma of the PlayStation handheld, even with the PSP, right? Because PSP sold 80 million, but if you look at the software didn't really match the amount of handhelds that was sold. And if I don't know if you guys were paying attention around that time, the number one complaint was, why would I play a game on the PSP for the bigger general audience if the games are on console, or similar games on console, and they run better, right? Biggest complaint was that the PlayStation handhelds didn't have that unique handheld feel, because it felt like a replica of the console games, but worse. And I think that's what's happening with the PC handheld. It's a small niche audience that really just want their PC games on the go. But in order to get those big massive sales, the 30 millions or 40 millions or 50 millions, it can't be a platform where the games are better than that games are the same console counterpart games or PC counterpart games. This is why Nintendo Switch is successful. Other than illegal means on PC, Switch games, the only way you could play Switch games is with the Switch. There is no legal console counterpart that plays Tears of the Kingdom better, or all those games better. It's just not available. So your only option is the Switch. So it's going to sell that 100 million, 140 million. But when you have, let's say, an Xbox handheld and it's playing, let's say, Halo, the new Halo, Gears E-Day, where's that 30, 40 million mass that's going to play Gears E-Day on the Xbox handheld when the better version is on PC or PlayStation 5 Pro or PlayStation 5? Or even
but it won't be people
now. You see what I'm saying? It's a small niche group. You're not going to get 10, 15, 20 million. You're not going to get 20 million that wants to play Gears E-Day.
Yeah. I agree.
It's just not that big. And even
why-
Steam Deck, right? Hold up, Steam Deck. Steam Deck's like the biggest one, like the most popular one. Even I think somebody on the podcast, I think this guy said,
Yeah,
that,
3
I'm
million.
gonna get Steam Deck instead. It's 3.7 million in 3 years. In 3 years. That's like PSVR 2 numbers when you think about it. Like, so what are we really talking about in terms of this handheld? It's a very niche item, very niche, right? Like
but then
3.7 in
Porter,
3 years. That's insane.
you missed the point of the Steam Deck. It's a companion device for Steam. That's what it's meant to be. It's not meant to compete with the Nintendo Switch or anything. It's
I
going
know
to do
that.
what it's going to do. Steam's main user base is PC. This is just their foray into the market, which they carved a nice little niche for themselves. Is it going to do crazy numbers? No. But I don't think they expect it to, because all Steam is literally just a storefront. That's all it is.
Yeah, and the point of what I'm saying is, how is that any different than the Asus Rogue Ally? You could say it's a companion to PC also.
The thing is, they're competing in the same space, but the Steam Deck is beating all of them because it is the essential companion device. Because, see, people like the ROG Ally, they're like, oh yeah, we'll run Windows. Which is dog shit for running on a PC handheld. No one should be running Windows. There's a reason why all the ones that are doing good, they want to run the Steam operating system, because the Steam OS is actually good. It's designed and it fits well with the handheld. But then Microsoft's trying to push this whole Windows thing, and people are either getting in bed with Windows or the Steam OS, and you're finding out that the Steam OS is the superior thing to go for. And yeah, they sold 3.7 million, but you don't know what their expectations were. That might have exceeded what they were expecting.
Yeah,
because
so I get what you're saying, the expectation, but it doesn't matter. It's still niche.
Well, it's still
what I'm saying is, you could say, oh, it's the superior thing. Like you mentioning Steam did better than the other ones. That's like saying, the second worst team in a sport beat the last place team. It doesn't matter. No one cares. No one cares about what the two lowest selling. Like, it's not even a big conversation. You're talking about a very small product group that essentially is a companion to something bigger, which most people don't really align with. That's the point I'm trying to say. Like, the conversation of, okay, one product sold 3.7 million, another one sold 600,000. Who cares? They both sold. The numbers are so low that it's not even really impactful to the industry. It's just really not. There's no impact. Imagine if the Switch sold 3.7 million in 3 years. That's failure. Shut the product down. Now, I get it. Steam may not have that expectation. That is fine. That still doesn't change the fact.
Hey, anything that sells 3.5 million in 3 years is a failure. I don't care what it is.
I mean, listen. If their expectation was, if the expectation is 500,000, that's fine. But the point is, that low number is not impactful to the industry. It's just really not impactful in any way. Like, it just doesn't mean nothing. Especially if those numbers are primarily companion devices, then that means it didn't even increase new users. It's the same user that's already on the marketplace. So it didn't even do that.
Right.
It did nothing. Right.
Yeah, but
all it did was cater to a very, 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 very niche audience that wants to play the game on the go. That's it.
Thing is, the Steam Deck isn't catered for that. It isn't like, oh, here's a choice, a Nintendo Switch or Steam Deck. It's not that. Move the Switch. The Switch does not exist, right? The Switch is the global dominator of it. This isn't designed to go anywhere near that. So we ignore the Switch, right? Because it's not designed to compete with the Switch. It's not designed to break into the mass market of the gaming industry. You're saying it has no impact. It's not designed to have impact. It's designed to be a mobile version of Steam. End. Finito. So it will do what it's going to do. And people who want it,
so
like
wait,
me,
so Death Singer, but
really
so wait, so P-Rock, wait. So wait, let me ask this question to Death Singer. Death Singer, you said even MSI wants to get in on. You said everybody wants to get into the handheld market. But what you're proving to me, and that's fine. Actually, I see where you're coming from, Death Singer. I have a Steam Deck, but you have such a large user base using Steam, and now to be able to walk away from your PC for a moment and maybe play games like Balatro or anything like that you enjoy on the go. you would think that massive audience would purchase, more of them would purchase it, and it's a reasonable price. I think you can get them at $400 or $500. I mean, it's not crazy. And you had 3.4 or 3.7 million out of that massive user base, and Steam's got it all over their store. I mean, you flip a page, there's a Steam Deck. So the users of Steam are seeing this device day in and day out. So I'm asking you a question that's contradictory to the beginning of the show. Is the handheld market as big as you said when everyone and their parents want to get into this market? I'm not necessarily sure.
The handheld market is growing.
Well, it's growing, but how fast?
But the thing is, it's growing. But well, they already threw their predictions out there, so who knows what will come true? But it's like the Steam Deck, yeah, it's on there, but a lot of people who play on Steam want to play on their PC. They don't want to play on a handheld. In matter of fact, more people who play on PC own a Nintendo Switch, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want to have to go through the steps you have to do to play your Nintendo games on PC. So they go out and buy a Switch, which tons of people who own a PC have a Switch because you have to. So it's just not what people think it is. The Steam Deck is designed to do what it's going to do, and it will be a success. Steam says it's a success. So if Steam says it's a success, then I'll take their word for it.
Listen, you're confusing its capability or its design to play Steam games. Yes, we know that. That's literally why it's called the Steam Deck. What we're talking about is how many people want it. Hardly anyone wants it.
Right?
3.73 years, hardly anyone wants it. It's a niche
right.
product.
You said yourself, Detsinger.
Let me put it this way. Let me rephrase your words. The PSVR 2 is designed for PSVR 2 games. That still doesn't change the fact that hardly anyone wanted it, and therefore it can be judged as a failure.
Yeah, but I said the Steam Deck was a niche product.
So that's what we're all saying. And then when you look at the other PC companions handhelds, they're even worse sellers. So overall, overall in total, it's like 6 million in 3 years. The Vita was doing better than that. That's considered a failure.
This is my point, Dessinger. When you said, and by the way, I agree with you, Dessinger. When you said Steam players like to play on their PCs, which, by the way, I completely agree with you. I'll walk that line with you. Xbox players, for the most part, you have to say for the most part, because somebody in the chat's going to be like, not everybody, Mooch, I love handhelds. I know you do. I got it. But my point is majority of Xbox players want to play on a big screen TV on their dedicated Xbox. And that's why when you see a lot of people in the media being like, well, the game's about to change. Here comes a handheld. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? Like, there's handhelds out there. Sony, which they got absolutely nailed for this with the Portal. Stupid. This is insane. Who would want this thing? It's $199. It's an accessory to the console. And it's doing fantastic numbers for them, right? Same thing like you said. It's doing what Steam probably want the handheld to do for them. That's exactly the way to look at it. But to say that like the Xbox fans are going to want to have something from Asus ROG Ally, they probably want something dedicated. Steam built the Steam Deck, right? Valve built the Steam Deck.
Yes,
Sony built the Portal.
Well, here's the other thing.
Xbox fans would want a dedicated handheld. I think that's what I think Xbox fans would want, not Asus ROG Ally crap. I mean, that's
it's like this though, right? I think Game Pass has some value as if you can actually play it without jumping through a bunch of hoops. So I think that's a little bit of a benefit too. You know what I mean? Game Pass is a pretty good value where you can play, for, a fee. You can buy the thing and then not have to spend hundreds and hundreds right away on software for it if you already have a library built up. Or, let's say you want to play Call of Duty and Doom and, Avowed and Outer Worlds 2, that's all, you can play that and you want to play that on the go. Like, I think that there's more possibility for an Xbox handheld that actually plays your fucking library than one that doesn't. I'm just gonna, whatever that line is, it's just fact because somebody like me exists, right? And I will not buy a PC handheld. But if there was an Xbox one where my games I could just take them on the go with me, sure.
Why not? Right? Why not?
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Look, because I buy everything. Like I have a fucking Vita, I have a PSP, I have a fucking 3DS still, I have you know what I'm saying? I have all this shit.
You have a Switch.
You know what I mean?
You have
I mean,
a
I don't-
Switch, right? I mean,
Yep,
that's the thing.
I got
and
an
that's
OLED,
why.
yeah.
That's why the Switch is a dedicated. And listen, it's a 2-in-1, right? It's dedicated console, and it also docks to your TV. I get that. So I think the Switch, even though it is a handheld, doesn't hold the same in this because these are accessories too. These are in addition to with PlayStation Portal or Steam Deck with Steam. I understand that it's a little bit different because Nintendo was like, not only are we a handheld device, that's the console. That is the console. So it's a little bit different when you say, well, that handheld is killing it. Well, it's killing it because it's the console. That's the only. If Steam was only available on the Steam Deck, they probably have 200 million sold. Right? So that's the way you have to kind of look at it there. I do have a couple super chats here. Shout out to the great, who did we start here with tonight? Gavin. I see Gavin House. He says, if next gen Xbox is basically a branded PC, what happens to all those third-party purchases from console to separate platforms? Listen, I think they're working on that, Gavin. I mean, I'm sure other people on the panel will have a better answer, but I think that's not something. I know a lot of people are worried about game preservation and whether or not games you bought. I know, crap, that's one of the things you're really worried about is you bought a lot of these games and what's going to happen to these games. So, listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't be worried. I'm not saying that. That's not fair to say. But I would think that they know that they have an extremely large dedicated fan base out there that have bought thousands of games over the years, you are being one of them, and many others that listen to this show. So I don't think they're going to drop you. So I don't think Gavin
everybody
has a problem there.
They kind of get people caught into this thing, right? Because I know everybody talks up Steam sales, but Xbox and PlayStation have sales where they sell shit for $3, $4, $5 too,
yes.
right? Because I built up a hell of a PlayStation and Xbox library doing that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
There's
and
another
thousands
sale
of
now.
fucking games.
Yeah,
exactly, right? It's like I had already beat the RoboCop game on Xbox, but it was $8 on PlayStation, so I picked it up there too. You know what I mean? It's like I do that, and a lot of people do that, but it's like, so you have thousands of games built up, but I genuinely worry about, not just my games, by the way, because I also want to say I have like 800 digital movies on Xbox, so yeah, it's like, and to be fair, a lot of those are movies that I bought like the 4K Blu-ray and it came with a digital code as well. But a lot of them I'll just buy, like they'll do a sale every week and they're $5 movies, but it's something I like, you know what I mean? And I've bought those or whatever. Like I would never spend $20, $30 on a movie that I couldn't physically own. I'm not stupid, but still, once you start counting, hundreds and hundreds of these, you've spent quite a bit on them. And if Xbox, yeah, exactly, Mooch, right?
Yeah.
Like fucking, yeah, I'm fucked if something happens.
You are, yeah.
There,
Yeah.
It's why, like.
No, I completely hear you, and I think your worries, your concern is there. Scoop says,
players. What really hurt the worst, real quick, Mooch,
what do you got,
when Phil was answering a question about people's libraries, just like, I think we've shown it that we're pretty trustworthy with, this is like, guy, you stop backwards compatibility, right? You stop the program. You guys, you have done nothing to assure fans that their games are going to be like you sold people a $550 console with a disc drive, and you literally put out first party content on no disc, right?
Yeah.
Like Avowed, no fucking disc, right? So over half the people that bought an Xbox that maybe would want to play that game via a disc don't have that option, right? Hellblade 2, no disc, right? Ghostwire Tokyo, no disc version on Xbox, only on PlayStation, right? So it's like, excuse me, Phil. You know what I mean? Like, fool me 100 times, shame on me, fucker.
Right? Fool me 100 times. That's what it feels like. Well, Scoop says here to you, crap. He goes, players don't count, crap. Sales do. So, I mean, I don't know if he's being sarcastic there or not. That was from when you were on your first rant. Moonshot says, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a love letter to my PS5 Pro. If PSSR is going to get FSR 4 like upgrades next year, then I'm good with the console gen going to 2031 or 2031. Listen, Moonshot, I love that you're saying you're okay with it. Let's not go to 2031. Let's ease that one there a little bit. Shout out to Eric, the producer. He has become a member of the channel. Eric, thank you so much. The great WoolleyGamer is back, everybody. Great to have Wooly here. He says GFN diminishes any hardware unique VP for handhelds. So I was asking the great WoolleyGamer, everybody. I don't know if anyone has a comment on the great WoolleyGamer. He says, Moonshot's back. He says, I'm a pretty satisfied PS5, PS Pro owner this gen. Not going to lie. Sure, it could be better, but I've been having a hell of a time. Great show, Mooch. Cheers, gents. Appreciate that, Moonshot. Thank you. I do want to transition. If anyone has anything left on that, I do want to kind of get to the PSSR stuff and the FSR 4 with Mark Cerny's interview. And Nib, I hate to go to you on this, but you've had the limelight, Nib, on X for the last probably 3 days. You've discussed and properly argued with many people online, I guess, and I appreciate Moonshot for the segue there. So I'll ask you real quick. So according to the lead architect, Mark Cerny, FSR 4 for PS5 Pro is the, in quotes, next evolution of PSSR. Why in God's green earth, Nib, are people saying, even after we're seeing amazing results right now, before this big update in 26 that he's talking about, we're seeing amazing results on Digital Foundry. Why are people doubting him?
Yeah, so I would just say on this whole point that let's be honest about the type of people who are complaining about this. Right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
You know, they're aligned to a certain group. Let's just put it that way, right? So, you know, anyone with a modicum of common sense would be like, oh, great, PSR is going to get even better, right? And
that's how I read it. That's how I read it.
Yeah. I mean, imagine they said DLSS is getting the transformer model. And then a bunch of dumb people were like, oh my God, DLSS is a failure. Like, no one would say that. They would say, okay, CNN was good, but now we're getting transformer model. But only this particular group would be like, oh my God, PSS is a failure. PlayStation has failed because they're getting an upgraded version. Now, to clarify two things, as the VP of AMD himself may put out a tweet, I don't know if anyone's read the tweet, but he basically says that the neural network sort of algorithms that they used for FSR4 were made in collaboration with PlayStation, and he actually thanks PlayStation for the creation of them. So PSSR and FSR, you know, getting a version of FSR4 is essentially it evolving into something that they already helped create. So why isn't it already on PS5 Pro? Because they said because of PS5 Pro doesn't have the same AI hardware upscaling technology. It's more 8-bit integers. They basically just have to adapt the model, and that takes a bit of time and whatever and development. So that's the only reason it's not on PS5 Pro yet. But like we all knew, just like DLSS, just like XESS, just like FSR, it is always going to improve and have iterations, right? So I don't know why people have a different expectation and standard for PSSR. Like PSSR came out, it was great in some games, poor in some games. It's been improving ever since. It's been iterated ever since. And then within 1 year, it's hopefully going to be even friggin' more amazing and potentially even better than DLSS CNN. Think about that. A console.
Not gonna happen.
I mean, FSR4 already is better than DLSS CNN.
FSR4 is between DLSS 3 and DLSS 4. It's not as good as 4, but it's better than 3. So
I just said DLS CNN. CNN is version 3. Transformer is version 4. Yeah, so what I'm saying is, according to Digital Foundry themselves and NX Gamer and others, FSR4 is notably better than DLSS CNN. In fact, Alex Battaglia even said there are areas where FSR4 is better than DLSS Transformer, because even though DLSS4 Transformer has better image quality and does certain things crisper, especially with reflections and things like that, he said the actual image stability is still better in FSR4, like in terms of motion and flickering and anti-aliasing and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at a stage where FSR4 is phenomenal, like it's competing toe-to-toe with DLSS, NVIDIA, and it's already better than the previous DLSS, which everyone's been championing for years. Now we know that PlayStation's going to get that. And again, according to Mark Cerny, I'm just quoting him, he literally said the output should be the same as FSR4, meaning the results should be the same. That's his exact quote, right? So, I mean, obviously that may not be the case, but if we go by his word, they co-collaborated and developed the neural networks that go into FSR4. And they are expecting an output that is the same as FSR4. Imagine the PS5 Pro with suddenly AI algorithm upscaling tech that is better than DLSS CNN. That's insane. That's huge. We should be celebrating that.
Yeah.
Even if it didn't come in the first year, who cares? 1 year is not much to wait. How many iterations of DLSS was there? How many iterations of FSR was there? How many years did that take? 6 years? 5 years of iteration? And in 1 year, we're going to get the equivalent of what was the best on PC for the last 7-8 years. Like, come on. Like, we should be celebrating.
I mean,
that.
I will say this much, just to play devil's advocate, Nib. I say proof is in the pudding, right? So we want to see these results.
Yeah.
I'm at a point right now. We've all been following this for what, 10 plus years just, doing podcasting, and we've quoted so many of the people that are in the know, right? But sometimes things don't come to fruition. But taking Mark Cerny's word as it is, then yes, I mean, that what you just said is going to be a marvel. That is something to see.
I would just say one final thing. Like with PSSR, I understand. I think it's perfectly fine to have better expectations for PSSR. Although I do think for being out the gate, I think maybe people were a little bit overzealous because it was always going to have teething issues. It's just expected. But say you're disappointed with PSSR, you have to factor in the fact that PSSR is still the best AI upscaling solution available on consoles. It's the best. Like, yeah, FSR2 might do FSR3, FSR2 might do certain things better. But overall, especially in motion clarity, like anyone with the PS5 Pro right now, right, load up the games that give you FSR and PSSR, play them both. Come back to me and genuinely tell me you prefer FSR, because I'll tell you something. PSSR in motion is far superior to FSR. And maybe in a still image, FSR might be slightly sharper or have less grain or whatever. But in motion, PSSR is substantially better. And we all play games in motion. I'm sure you don't turn on a game and leave your controller on the table and dilly-dally and do nothing. You're playing the game. You're actually moving around, right? So when you actually play the game, PSSR is better. So people are complaining that the thing that was already the very best on consoles is now getting way better. They're still complaining. It's tiring, and it's just pure ineptitude, in my opinion. Like when I hear
they
this,
run back. They run back to they charged all this money, which I said last week on this podcast. These people are broke, and they're thinking that everything is just going to be there. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why FSR got to improve, and then deep learning super sampling got to improve, and why PSSR is not allowed to. Mark Cerny said back, I think in December, that it was going to get, it's in its kind of first iteration. They would update it as we went along. And I agree, the fact that it's going to, it has the potential, it has the potential that this time next year, at some point next year, be just as good or on par with FSR4, which you are right, is defeating DLSS in 3 or 4 in some areas. That does need to be applauded, because this is the first time they've really tried some type of upscaling AI, and it's working. That's why I've never, when Mark Cerny broke this thing out, Sony showed a bunch of first-party games. They didn't show a bunch of third-party or second-party games running on their platform. They said this is for the people who want to play these games at the optimum level on a console, and that's what they're doing. So I think it's disingenuous, but I love when Nib said it goes back to a certain group of people. It's always the same group of people that are just going to bitch and moan. Now my thing is that they're broke.
It's just cope, right? It's just cope. Literally, that's all it is.
Cope because they're broke. Exactly, you're right.
I don't know if it's because they're broke. It might just be platform allegiance, but it literally just all I can when they say these points, all I can feel and see is salt emanating from their mouths. Like that's all I can.
It's like when hey guys, I argue with this guy named Game Trailers on X all the time, right? And this guy might be dumber than a sack of bricks, right? But I can always tell that he's secretly clenching his fists every time he's like trying to like damage control something Xbox does. He's like, well, more people will get to play Forza Horizon 5. Like this guy is like, you can tell, like gritted teeth is typing that shit out. Like, yeah, because he's not. Because what? And if you're not happy about that shit or something, regardless of the platform, then speak up about it, because it doesn't do any good to not speak up about it. People talk with their wallets, and we'll see what happens.
Jez Gordon, his article recently, it was titled "The Takeover of PlayStation Continues" because Xbox games are coming. And I was like, oh my god, imagine saying like EA's taking over PlayStation because their games are on there. Rockstar's taking over PlayStation. While PlayStation is there laughing, taking a 30% cut, and they're like, oh, thank you for improving our platform and bringing even more consumers to it. That's the way he's decided to phrase it. It's hilarious. Like I can't.
The thing is, like with the everyone should be celebrating the fact that AMD is finally up to par, because AMD has always been behind the 8 ball for a long time. Like anyone would be like, oh, using FSR3 or DLSS3, hands down, everyone's using DLSS 3 because that was dog shit. And now, obviously, I agree. This is similar upgrade from 3 to 4 is similar from DLSS 1 to DLSS 2 because that was a massive leap. Like DLS 1 was actually shit. But then when they dropped DLSS 2, everyone shot to the moon because it was night and day difference. And that's what this is doing. And they need to bring it to consoles because consoles are... What?
Can I just say one thing though? I mean, I would agree that in terms of the jump, that's what it is. But here's where I would just slightly alter, right? You know, FSR 4. You actually don't need any better than FSR 4. If we're genuinely, truly being honest, maybe if you do extreme pixel peeping and whatever, like, okay, like, but as you know, Alex is saying, this is good enough now. This is good enough that across all resolutions and features or whatever, in terms of image stability, the clarity it offers, you don't, even if it never improved after that, it would still be enough. And similar with DLSS transformer, right? It would be, yeah. But for that, what I mean is PlayStation 5 Pro is essentially, if Cerny is right, unless he's lying, if he's correct, they will essentially go from having, you know, a half decent like AI upscaling to more than you'll ever need, right? You is going to be asking for any better after this. So, or the PS5 Pro and for GTA 6, right? And all these upcoming games, Interstellar, it's going to be lit. It's going to be amazing. Like you don't need any better than that. That's as good as you're going to get.
But that's why people should be celebrating it being on consoles, because consoles run AMD hardware, so they need to rely on FSR being good. Otherwise, they don't have a super sampling option. So it's good that consoles and PSSR gets up to the FSR 4 standard. Then that is a brilliant move, and everyone should be celebrating it because it'll give you tons of performance gains. But it's, you know, there's still going to be an FSR 5 because it's not perfect by any means. FSR 4 still has issues. DLSS 4 still has issues. Like, they're not perfect in any way, so you'll get a new iteration of both. Until they nail it down perfect, then they'll probably stop iterating. But that'll probably never happen because, you know, you need something to sell your new graphics cards, right? So to sell your next batch of graphics cards, you're going to want to have DLSS 5 or something, you know, to help people sell the cards. But I don't know why people are complaining about PSSR. If it gets to FSR 4, that is a win. That is a win for you. You should be like, yes, let's go. Finally. A good super sampling, AI upscaling option. And it'll, like, when I'm thinking about GTA 6, if it's using something like FSR 4 on the PlayStation 5, I could see your 60 FPS mode. I could see all of that. I could see all options on the table because now you could do some funny shit. So, hey, it's a good thing. So people downplaying PSSR, please don't, because for my console guys out there, you need a good AI super sampling technique. And AMD is your only option because that's the only hardware they use.
All right, let me do this. I have a couple super chats here, and I do want to welcome the great Detective Seeds who's with us here. Shout out to Lord Metroid. He says the Xbox handheld will get wrecked by the Switch too. Lord Metroid, a huge Nintendo fan, guys. Please take note of that. Shout out to Lord Metroid. WoolleyGamer's back. He said, we all know Death Stranding 2 is going to be the envy of every PC and, he goes, Xbox gamer this year. PlayStation still holds a unique value proposition. Wooly, we're going to talk about Death Stranding 2 in a bit. As you can see, I went back and I'm playing the director's cut. I'm going to go ahead and be playing that right through. I want to beat that again before we get to June 26th. Shout out to WoolleyGamer. Great to have him back in the chat here. Mr. Grimm says, I have a Steam Deck OLED, and it's overrated mainly because it does not play all the games in your Steam library. It has to be certified to be able to play on the Steam Deck. So that's something. That's any comments on the...
Yeah, games have Steam Deck certified. You could still get some games on there, but the thing is, it comes with the asterisk of it's not really designed for this, so performance varies, your mileage may vary, but a lot of games get Steam Deck verified anyway, so that'll just be a thing from, you know, now till more games will just do it, but, you know, obviously some games don't get verified. You could still do it, it's just not recommended.
Shout out to a straight shot. He says, minor clarification, if this handheld uses Windows Store, PlayStation along with lots of games aren't on there. Straight shot, I believe you're right on that, because you'll have a situation where I believe a lot of people say Sony wouldn't allow games to be run on that if that's the case. Anyways, that's hearsay as well. Detective Seeds, welcome to the show, buddy. I know you're watching a little bit of the March Madness live, which is great, by the way. This is like your Super Bowl. But no, welcome to the show, Seeds. And what we're talking about, basically, just to bring you in, and then I want to get P-Rock in here too on this, because I know he's been P-Rock in my eyes. I know maybe someone else did it before him, but I think he gets the tally for pisser. He listed and labeled that first. I saw it first on his channel. But Seeds, what do you think about what's going on here? And you see how Mark Cerny comes out, does the interview, next evolution of PSSR, and worked and collaborated with AMD for FSR 4. But yet we have some people that are detracting that, saying, nah, that's not the case. It can't be. Can't be.
I mean, I know it to be 100% true, because I do have a buddy of mine that works for PlayStation as an engineer. So I get a lot of my information, just to be transparent. And I put out a tweet today that I talked to him earlier. They are 3 iterations ahead of where the PS5 Pro currently is right now with versions of PSSR. Like, they're already testing 3 iterations ahead of what we currently have. And
wow.
So, yeah, I mean, they are doing breakthroughs as we go. So that is, I mean, I figured they were at least maybe 1 or 2, but 3. I think by time, you get ready for the PS6, I know they're going to do some different things with that, but this rollout that they're going to have, I definitely think we're going to see some improvements there. I was also told that there will be another PlayStation Portal that will be rolled out that has PSSR within the PlayStation Portal.
Now, see, that kind of bums me out, pisses me off a little bit, Seeds. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, yeah. I'm an early adapter, and listen, I say this all the time, so it goes for me too. Early adapters, what do you get? You get the benefit of having that service or that product in your hands first, and then you're susceptible to either paying too much because it goes down in price later on, or there's another product that comes out that's bigger, better. You know what I mean? But
for sure,
why wouldn't the current? It seemed like they thought ahead. They did the link devices. They had the separate earpieces and headsets that were going to be on it. They've made it capable to be able to download the games from your PS Plus premium package. I don't understand why would there be another dedicated handheld for PSSR?
So, from my understanding, is that they were not going to do this type of handheld with PSSR. However, the breakthroughs that they have had, which if you look at the interview and you look at, I think somebody from AMD also did an interview, they are making discoveries with the machine learning faster than what they anticipated. And so this PlayStation Portal Pro, if you will, is going to be another device that if you want to get it, you can. I asked time frame and when they were going to roll it out. He didn't want to tell me. So just to be honest, he didn't want to tell me when it was going to be. But I agree with you. I don't, I have a PlayStation Portal. I have a review going up on Saturday for a fully vetted review of the PlayStation Portal. I've had it for, well over a year now. And I also don't like that, but I also understand, unfortunately, that's the way that technology works now. You buy something as an early adopter, whether it's, video games or a TV. I'm getting ready to put 2 new TVs upstairs in my loft to do it. I know that those TVs, as soon as I leave, they're going to have new tech out, maybe a new TV in a couple months, right? That beats the TVs I just brought home. So,
Seeds, I'll let me piggyback on what you're saying, and the audience needs to hear this, the panel too. There's various forms of AI out there being developed by a lot of big tech out there. And I will say, not all AI is created or performs the same. I mean, you guys know I'm an Apple fan, but I'll tell you right now, in my personal opinion, I think Apple's AI is way behind. And I'll tell you, just from using the phone, I think they're behind. And that's my opinion. I'm not saying that's rule of thumb. So when you sees that Cerny comes out and says they've been working with AMD and the stuff that they're doing with them, and I think that when you see the AI work that's going on internally at Sony and people want to work with them, maybe they really do have something there that they didn't think that was going to catch as fast. Again, I'm as a consumer, I'm a little disappointed because I don't really feel like spending another $200. Thanks to Mooch Economics, hopefully it'll be less than $200. We'll see what happens.
The other thing that I think is, I saw somebody in chat say, why would you need if it's going to be remote play? I don't know that it will be fully remote play. I think that there's some other technology that they're rolling out with that update, as well as the base PlayStation Portal, where they're going to have some other functions that it may not be just remote play.
Okay.
I don't know when that's going to happen. I think that Tom Henderson had alluded to it a little bit previously.
Okay.
That there are some updates coming for the PlayStation Portal. So I don't want to get personally too ahead of myself of when that's going to happen.
No, that's fair.
But there are some, from my understanding, some capabilities that are coming on the PlayStation Portal that will extend. Like right now, the Wi-Fi capabilities on it are, in some cases, pretty horrendous, depending on where you're trying to connect.
I agree.
And the PlayStation Portal needs to have some capabilities added to it where it's not as horrendous. I could see them with adding PSSR to a, let's say, a Portal Pro, I'm just going to call it that, adding those capabilities within that package. Now, will they be able to push that out for the base? I don't know. But, you know, according to, and this person has been spot on pretty much everything I've put out. It's from the backstore stuff of knowing when Indiana Jones is coming and Forza, like, this is the person that's given me this information. They've been pretty spot on with everything that they've given me thus far. And to match it up with what Cerny said about, hey, we have these updates to where we're evolving the way PSSR, it to me, it matches up on where they are, because they wouldn't, tech is so far advanced of what we currently have, right? Like you look at like companies like DARPA, some of these other big companies, in some cases are 20, 30 years ahead of where we are. I'm not surprised, and I don't think anyone should be surprised that they're rolling out evolutions of PSSR. So it makes sense to me now, seeing his comments and also talking to this person, that yeah, they probably are 3 iterations ahead, and we're going to get the next iteration. After that, we're going to get the next iteration.
So Seeds, just real quick here. Shout out to Eric. You guys know him. I introduced him earlier. Eric R68, who's a Mooch Maniac family member now, also known as the producer here. He says the original leak called the Portal, in quotes, PS Portal Lite. So let's not forget that. Maybe that has something to do with what you're saying here, Seeds, where they always knew they were going to have a second iteration. To be honest with you, and I'll ask Porter Rock, P-Rock, you hear what Seeds is saying here, and, you know, listen, we're just having this discussion off the top. We don't have the documents in front of us. We don't know. Right? We don't know. But if there is going to be another Portal, P-Rock, I would almost think that the next one would launch, because we did hear about this, right? PS6 having a handheld to launch either simultaneously with it or right around the PS6 time frame. P-Rock, do you think that holds any validity?
I think remember when the leak of the Portal happened, they called it the Q Lite.
Yeah, that's what Eric was saying. That he called it the PlayStation
right?
Portal Lite, but it was the Q Lite. Yes.
Yeah, it was originally the Q Lite. So I think, you know, I mean, if you're gonna call something the Q Lite, then what's the Q Heavy or whatever, right? So I think there is some validity, right? I mean, why call it a Q Lite for, right? There's probably some validity to the handheld. Again, I think PlayStation will have, similar to what the Steam strategy is, a companion device, and I think some people want that native ability to play the games natively on this handheld device. My only concern, really the big concern, I think this is what we should talk about. What exactly is the handheld going to be designed to play? Are we talking just PS5 games and older?
Right.
Or would there be an attempt to say, hey, you can also try to put PlayStation 6 games on this thing, which will be very concerning, because then you effectively created your own Xbox Series S conundrum. And maybe not so bad because it's not a console. So I could probably say, all right, maybe if it's an indie game, day one on PS6, you know, the handheld, Asus Rogue, Switch 2, then okay, I could maybe get that. But I'm just concerned on what they, you know, how they want to manage 2 platforms, right? I'm hoping that there's no tie-in saying that if it's on PS6, you got to try to make it on this handheld. I hope, like, you know, there's nothing tying the two, because then you could effectively have created your own Xbox Series S conundrum now.
But you don't think the current portal is presenting any type of Xbox Series S conundrum, right?
Well, no, because it's streaming.
It's just streaming,
it's
right?
Yeah, it's just streaming.
That's why I think and I'm not dismissing Seeds.
Different.
Right? No, I'm not dismissing
to the hardware.
Don't forget though. I do want to bring something up though, P-Rock, because that's a good point you bring up. Seeds, and I know you're just relaying information, so this is nothing about what you're saying. But shout out to WoolleyGamer. He says, you know, let's not forget. He says the current PlayStation Portal is not only remote play currently. I mean, it's doing more than that's also streaming games as well, right? So it's doing more than just remote. Right, it got rolled out later. Right.
Nothing's coded to the device though.
Correct.
The device.
So why? Yeah, so that's what I think. To be honest with you, P-Rock, I think they're well aware of what happened with Xbox this generation, and saw that. I don't think they would do what your concern is. I would think that they would still have the PS, let's say, Portal heavy, if you want to call it that. That would be very similar to what we have right now, just with greater technology, kind of using the technology Seeds was talking about, where we would see that next iteration or 3 or 4 iterations by that time down the road of PSSR.
With it having base PSSR on it, from what this person told me, I don't see it bleeding into the PS6, because the PS6, I mean, there's rumors floating around of like when it's coming. I don't think it's going to come until 29 or 30. I just don't.
I think that's a little long. That's a little long, Seeds. I think 28 is your deadline.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that if you just look at the timeline, right, 8 years is long in the tooth for a console.
Yeah, I think with they're going to push the Pro. Honestly, I think that I'm just going to put this out there, and if I'm wrong, obviously I've shown like, hey, I'll.
I don't mind being wrong on that either. I'm using a little bit of history here, which history will date you. It'll date you on that on my prediction, but
yeah, I think that they're going to lower the price of the Pro at some point and start pushing more of the Pro. The Grand Theft Auto, I think, will probably use some of that, but I do think that they're going to elongate into, you might be right, 28, but I would say 28, 29, and maybe going too long on 30. I think that they're going to use that because you're going to have multiple iterations of PSSR that they can pump out onto the Pro. That will entice probably more people to upgrade, right? So you can upgrade, and if they lower the price of the Pro to say $500, right? I don't know when that's going to happen, but if they do it, you can seemingly upgrade your base PS5 to the Pro, get those additional iterations of PS5 Pro to elongate out the cycle of this console, and then boom, you drop your PS6 in 28, 29, let's say, and then you have a stack of games that have been worked on to be able to release, let's say 4 or 5 games right off the bat. I don't know. I saw like 26, 27 being tossed out. I think that's way too soon, based off of these iterations of the PSSR. So I think that might be the strategy of what they're going to do, is lower the price of the PS5 Pro, entice people to upgrade, especially with Grand Theft Auto coming and some of these other games, and then give you that option to upgrade and elongate. Because I think that I understand what you're saying with how we've done it in history, but this gen started very differently than any other video game console, rollout, really. Like, we had basically 2 years of craziness on both sides, and so I wonder if they're going to utilize that extra time to see how much they can push out, because you're gonna start getting dev kits out. What, 27 probably, give or take, depend on what they're going to do with some of these games and how far advanced that they actually get. I have no idea how far they're going. I've started doing some research into AMD to try to understand their technology as well. So when I'm having these conversations, I know a little bit more, and I just. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the tech that goes into the PS6 and how long it takes to do that.
And that's the thing. And shout out to Shadow 200 Strong. He says new Xbox coming in 2027. The problem with that, Shadow, and it's not not a jab at Xbox, but right now you've got P-Rock said it, Crap had said it earlier in the show. You went from the Xbox One era, which is the worst generation to lose. They had all those digital customers. That's when everything went digital. Everyone took their accessories, their games, and then you see what happened with the Series X, and you had the entire media pushing for Series X. The entire media was pushing for the Series consoles. And you even had a Series console that was retailing day one at $299. And they actually sold worse than the DRM issues they went through on Xbox One era. So my point being is that to sit there and say, hey, don't worry about it, Xbox has got a new console in 27. Now you have another whole generation that bought their games on PlayStation in addition to those that transferred over from Xbox One and the PS4 era to this one. So I don't see hardware for me on Xbox. I'm wondering if they're still talking about whether they're going to do a dedicated console. I know they've said it, but they've said a lot of things and then went back on it. So again, and honestly, if it doesn't make sense for them financially, it doesn't matter what they said. They'll explain why they changed their position, and it probably will make a lot of sense. Shout out to the great Jimmy Harrison. It's good to see you, brother. Shout out to my brother Craig and Porter Rock. Jimmy, great to have you here as always. And
I don't know, Mooch, real quick. If
go ahead, Seeds.
Kind of ping pong this back because I'm interested to see what everybody else thinks. I don't know that it even matters if they bring out new hardware. This is not speaking negative on Xbox whatsoever. We know that they are lining up and bringing their games to PlayStation. So if they do roll out a new console, right, like obviously your loyalists to Xbox are going to buy it, but do you find any conversion to, entice PlayStation to release a console earlier? And I think the answer is no, but I'm interested to see what you guys think. I don't think they need to rush.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too. That's the other thing that's got me thinking. When you say they're going to prolong to 29, 30, I don't think so. But listen, with Xbox, if Xbox is not in that console push for them right now, and they know that they're going to be getting Xbox games as they get EA and Take-Two and everybody else now, that like Crap said this, that's one of the biggest things is now PlayStation takes their foot off the gas a little bit. They don't have to necessarily, until they're 100% ready to launch something, they don't have to go out and do that because there's no threat. They're not worried about Nintendo's next. Nintendo's launching Switch 2 this year. So the Switch 3, if you will, or whatever they want to call their next iteration console, is not going to come out for quite some time. So at that point, they have a gap of time there to work with. But Babor Contri has a super chat. Babor, thank you so much. He says, Death Stranding 2, Yote, GTA 6 is proof that the best games always release on PS5. I was going to go PC. I saved myself from stupidity. Imagine waiting for the best games and missing out every year. Babor, we knew you would never leave. We were almost sure of it. I'm glad we talked you off the ledge that day. I'm glad you were here for that. You remember that singer? We were very concerned. That was a concerning night. Everybody had a little extra whiskey when Babor said that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's like, not everyone likes the same games, so what might be good, like Death Stranding 2 might be good for you, but it's not good for me because I just don't like that type of games. So,
yeah, well, Singer,
good job, Babor.
Yeah, that's right. Babor is with us. Crap, he's good. So, Crap, to go to you real quick here because you made I can't believe it. Crap, you've made some great tweets in the past 7 days. I'll tell you, one of them broke.
I told Forza to go fuck off.
You
right?
did.
They're like, play with your new PlayStation buddies. Like, yeah, get out of here. Fuck you.
I think you broke the internet with that one.
I had installed that shit. Well, the minute it was, and that's petty. I get it, right? But whatever. I'm petty.
That's all right. I read that, and I had to actually make sure that was actually you, and I was like, "That's hysterical."
Yes, I told him to fuck
That's
off,
absolutely hysterical. It was just the timing of it. It's almost like a conversation happening, and the way you responded so quickly. Very funny.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like George Washington telling his army to go play with the British, right? Like, hey, let's go play something. Let's go play with our new British buddies, right? Fuck off. I would have said the same thing to him too.
It's like a Saturday Night Live skit. That's great. Crap, but I got to ask you. You also went off on the Ubisoft IPs. People were like, "Hey, Microsoft should buy them," and you're like, "Anybody but them."
Oh, yeah.
So what happened, Crap? Why not Microsoft for the Ubisoft IP sale?
I think Microsoft has piss poor management, right? And like Ubisoft already has that, so it would just be going from piss poor management to piss poor management.
Yeah, bad to worse.
I think if like. I don't know what's going to happen with Ubisoft. Maybe EA could buy them or something. I don't know. People hate on EA, but I would rather EA buy them than Microsoft. Every time Microsoft, the more stuff that Microsoft buys, it's another nail in the coffin for their hardware. And, it's pretty clear that they want to be like the software guys. I mean, I think that's going to turn south on them at some point because they're doing the strategy that does like short-term games like in the short term, but long-term wise, it's not going to work as well, I don't think.
Right.
You know, because you only have so many old Halo games or old Gears of War games that you can release, and they only release the new ones every 3, 4, 5 years. So, I mean, it's like they only have so much they can release that's going to be gaining like any kind of impact. And you know, it's so bad that like they're releasing some stuff right on top of each other. You know, it's like, oh well, let's release Forza Horizon and Indiana Jones together. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, I think that the strategy is going to catch up to them at some point, and it's not gonna, you know, it's not going to be this big money making thing. And they're going to be like, what happened? You know, it's like I don't know, man. It's like I sometimes wonder if anybody in that corporation has a brain. Like I get it, they're this big corporation that push like the latest fads and stuff, but it's like not everything has to be, you know, like AI. Just because that's the big thing doesn't mean that that necessarily should like. And I just picture Microsoft getting rid of studios and just having shit run with AI. You know what I mean? Like that's my worst fear, because I get that AI, and I have no problem with upscaling AI, to be mindful, right? I don't care about that stuff, but it's like the AI that, you know, we see, like I mess around with Grok 3 sometimes on Twitter and stuff, and it's funny, but it's so obviously AI, you know what I mean? And it's like extra fingers or things just don't look right. You know what I mean? It's just like that uncanny valley stuff, and I don't like it. I don't want to see, you know, developers lose their jobs and stuff over AI stuff. I think AI can be useful in getting games out faster, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, oh, instead of, you know, doing a billion trees by, you know, whatever, you might be able to use AI for that, or use it for
Right.
a computation or something. But, you know, I don't think that it should be used in terms of, you know, getting rid of people and just kind of relying on that.
Crap, I'm right there with you, because when it
Yeah.
comes to writing, voice acting, and actual art that a human being can create, but you know, because all AI is doing is taking our creations and melding them together, which is just, you know, I'm right there with you. P-Rock, what do you think about that? Crap made a good stance in the sand there, saying Ubisoft IPs, and you see everybody being like, Microsoft should probably be the first ones, P-Rock. Why not, right, P-Rock? Give them to them. They're doing a great job.
I think Microsoft has more than enough than they can handle. They're chewing a lot. Let them perfect what they got now,
Yes.
right? I mean, they just started to begin to put. I mean, technically speaking, they still haven't released products that was announced back in 2020, like Fable. You know, so let them work and mature what they have now. And especially in the
They
industry.
still haven't released games they announced in 2019.
Yeah.
That fucking Everwild was announced in 2019. We're in 2025.
Yeah.
We haven't even seen a stitch of gameplay in 6 years.
Yeah,
It's a lot of teams.
So number one, let them manage the teams that they got. Number two, you see how quick this industry
It's
is.
contraband.
Yeah, you see how
It was-
quick
it was
or Project Mara.
Steely Dan
right?
song. Remember that, Mooch?
Yeah.
Project Mara. Project Mara's another
Yeah,
one. We don't know what that is.
what's Project Mara?
Yeah.
What-
So
like-
so the main thing is let them deal with what they have now, because we also seen this industry is quick to lay off people.
Yes.
So we already see absorbing, you know, teams and all that stuff just to absorb them without a well-out plan is just going to result in closing down more studios and stuff like that. So I think Microsoft's fine with that. Let them manage what they got. They got plenty. They got a whole lot of developers. Let them just manage what they got. Let them perfect their stuff. And I think when they got their processes down packed, if they need to expand even further, but right now, just absorbing more IPs, like who's gonna make them, and you know, it's just too much. I do think Ubisoft kind of needs help.
Yes.
I don't know what's going. I don't know how they lost their way so hard. But they got to figure something out internally, or they got to sell the IPs. But I say sell it to either a publisher that is ready and can absorb the IP and do something with it. Because we saw, who is it? Well, what's the publisher? I guess it starts with an E. Like they absorbed everybody. Embracer. They absorbed literally everybody. And for what? Hardly any games came out. They closed down studios, you know, so we can't have publishers just to absorb people just to absorb. They gotta, you know, strategically be able to be like, all right, hey, we're gonna take, you know, this game, Splinter Cell, and we could do something with it. We're gonna make it a top priority. We got the budget, you know, we'll start working on it now, have it released within 4 or 5 years. Yeah, we're gonna get this going. You know, don't just say, oh yeah, this is an IP, nice to have. Then they take it and don't do anything with it for God knows how long. And things
well,
like
that's
that.
it. Actually, P-Rock, I'm kind of glad you said that because Crap brought an interesting point up with just some of the things that have gone wrong with the major acquisition. And you see things like Bethesda doing what Bethesda does and Obsidian doing what Obsidian does. They've been running on their own. So everyone's like, "Come on, Mooch, what are you talking about? They're doing a great job." Well, these are professionals that they bought, and they're doing what they do, right? So they put games out when they say they're going to put games out. But there's other teams like what's going on with the smaller teams like. What was it? Hellblade 2 didn't really do what exactly they wanted. What's Double Fine? Since they bought them, and I know that came out and it was a great game, Psychonauts 2. That was a great game, but that was truly close to finish when they grabbed them. What have they been doing? These smaller teams that actually need guidance, need help. I don't think Microsoft's there to really help them much. Maybe they are financially. They'll buy them something here or there, but it's not like it's... So I'm a little more concerned with they buy these IP, they put them in their treasure chest, they close the chest, and that's it. Like Rare, right? They bought Rare. Yes, now we see some of the fruits of Rare, but that's not the same Rare that they bought. Whereas all those games that came along with Rare, we don't have a lot of those games out there. Mooch. Go ahead, Singer.
Loads of publishers, like PlayStation has a buttload of IP that they could bring back, but they don't. Microsoft has a shit ton of
Yes, they
IP.
do.
That they can bring back, but they refuse to. Like companies will just go with what is making the money right now. Like, would you really bring a Killzone back? Maybe, maybe not. Would it do what it was supposed to do? Maybe just keep it shelved and we can make another Ghost of Tsushima or another God of War or another something that'll generate the big moolah and keep it pushing, right? So when they go, oh, Microsoft should buy the Ubisoft, no, they shouldn't. No, stay the hell away from Ubisoft. I submit, and I've said this for a long time now, Tencent should take over Ubisoft. Because, yes, people go, oh no, it's China. Thing is, Tencent actually puts out games. They are actually funding. They actually supply a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, look at Riot Games. It's under Tencent, and it's putting out more games than it ever has.
Yeah.
Like, just give the IP to them and let them put their financial backing behind it and push it out. It'll come to everywhere. Because, yeah, okay, I could see Sony buying some Ubisoft IP, but will they really do anything with it when they got a shit ton of IP already? Not really. Nintendo ain't going to be interested. Microsoft already has too much on their plate. Like, they need to settle down and cook. So, I mean, the only other option is selling to another publisher or Tencent. And I think that's what they should do.
Well, when it comes down to it, so that and you make a great point, Dessinger. I can't say you're wrong there at all. Nib, I guess I'll ask you, like, does the Ubisoft IP, is there a value out there? A lot of them have come out, a lot of them haven't done well. A lot of people are saying, and I wait to see, so I'll say this on the air. I'm part of the Ubisoft creator program, and listen, call it whatever you want. I'm on wave 2, so a lot of people are playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. I did get a review copy, but I'm getting it like a day before the release, so mine's coming a little bit later. I will do a review on it, but a lot of people are saying it's going to do well. I've never been a huge Assassin's Creed fan in the past. If they really change the formula here and can keep the player engaged, I'm looking forward to that. But outside of Assassin's Creed, Nib, are the Ubisoft IP that people are talking about, is that something that's cherished? I mean, I don't think a lot of people, this rumor's been out there for a while, and they've been shopping it for a while, according to rumors. So I don't know. I don't see anybody really clamoring to get these. Deathsinger, you might be right. Tencent might be the ones that swoop in and get this, because Microsoft legitimately, I don't think they're gonna go for it. Someone said in the chat, Mooch, didn't they say at the ABK trial that Microsoft wouldn't be able to acquire? I don't think they wouldn't be acquiring the team, right, Nib? They would be only be acquiring the IP.
Yeah, and there is another potential issue there as well, is because Ubisoft is the one in the CMA case that is taking over the rights to their cloud.
That's
gaming
right.
Stuff.
That's correct. Yep.
So they had to they're divested the cloud to Ubisoft. So if they're acquiring Ubisoft, that would also bring into play the same issue, essentially, because indirectly they would be taking back the cloud rights. So I'm not sure if that is potentially on the cards. There could be some difficulty. But yeah, no. Otherwise, yeah, I don't want to see any more consolidation. Not from PlayStation, not from Microsoft, not from nobody. I've always been anti sort of consolidation anyway, irrespective of who's doing it. Because in a way it reduces competition and puts more risk, because Xbox is in a pretty precarious situation right now, really, if we were really and truly honest, in terms of financials, growth, Game Pass, sustainability, all of the rest of it. Their metrics are not looking too hot. Even with Call of Duty, the results are still real questionable, like in terms of, with Call of Duty, with Indiana Jones, with everything else, you only have a 2% content and services growth, and you have a 7% decline in revenue overall,
Right.
even with the biggest game. That's sold way better than the previous year. So it's precarious. And Ubisoft has already not been managed too well, poorly actually. And Xbox has a long history of not managing studios well. So let's just, taking on so much so soon is always difficult. They're already going through turbulence because suddenly they've got 37 studios they need to account for and micromanage now. Let's just see how they get on with that. See the output, see the, they already had 1,900 layoffs, and even PlayStation was laying off people with Bungie and everything. So it's not exactly going swimmingly in the markets right now, or with these acquisitions. So no, I totally would not want that. It's nothing to do with Xbox specifically. I wouldn't want PlayStation to acquire them either. So I would just say let them be independent, let them sort out their stuff, let them improve their IP. As to your question, do they have strong IP? Yeah, I think. I don't know about outside of like Assassin's Creed. They only have a few that are like really, really strong. But with all the
Nib, let me just throw one out there. Shout out to B Money in the chat. He says, don't forget, Splinter Cell is a very big IP that I think a lot of people wouldn't mind getting their hands on. But go ahead, Nib.
Also, Rainbow Six Siege is absolutely
I think Rainbow Six is actually one of their best performers, right? Because I know
Siege is massive.
Yeah, Siege is massive. I know initially it was slow out the gate, but it really picked up. It was one of the highest engagement titles. So yeah, they still have a lot of potential. I think this Assassin's Creed should do really well. I do, even though there's controversy around it, from certain crowds. I think overall, like it's got a lot of potential and there's a lot of hype around it. But yeah, I would want them to remain independent and for them to just concentrate on growing their IP and quality, and maybe utilizing the Star Wars IP that they've licensed or whatever a little bit better than they already have so far.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. P-Rock, you got any sentiments on Ubisoft and where those IP should go? I do want to discuss one more topic here. We got a one that's I think is a big deal.
No, I mean, it's a roll of the dice. I mean, whoever it takes it, I mean, at the end of the day, they got to do something with it. Hopefully they put the right developers, and hopefully they got the right vision for it.
No, I agree with you. I think what's going to happen, but you guys do have to agree though. If none of the players like Sony, Microsoft don't jump in there, I think this is. I think Tencent. If they really got to get rid of these, they really need the money back. I think Tencent picks these up. I think that's a good call by Dessinger.
I don't think Tencent picks them up, but I think Tencent's do is it's.
I meant the IP though. I don't mean the company.
Yeah, no. I mean Ubisoft. What they need is Tencent to take over management. Because the management at Ubisoft is diabolically shit, right? So what you do, you get all those fucks out of there, right? Because they're useless. And then what you do is put some people who actually know what they're doing in there, and then let Ubisoft just tick along, and then you just sit in the background and reap what you reap off it and just keep it pushing. Because like when I think of Riot Games, it's like they have a lot of autonomy. They do what they want, but they always bring in the bucks. And they always make the money, and Tencent just sits there and goes, good, you're doing good. The money's flowing. Thank you very much. And they just leave them to it. So all they need to do is change the management at Ubisoft, and Ubisoft will get back on track. Because the current management is diabolical.
Well, I got news for you. You guys just heard Dessinger. If you're upset tomorrow at work, you should be happy he's not your boss. Dessinger, that was tough. That was rough. But no, not necessarily all wrong. So I'll go back to P-Rock. P-Rock, real quick here. Death Stranding, right? And Death Stranding had, I don't want to say a rocky launch, but it went from a game that was heavily criticized, P-Rock, to a game now that is kind of, a lot of people would still say, Mooch, I hate it. That's fine. But it slowly became a fan favorite. And now, I mean, with 2, it looks like 2 is going to take 1 and it's going to legitimately just like 300%, absolutely dominate the first one with story, music, the actors, the voice acting, the scenes. There's different. it's not going to be just through that green lush before or just that rock, gray rock. It's going to have so many different areas to go through. They've expanded it out. I think the writing's probably better. I think it's going to have a little bit of that Kojima charm. And what I mean by that is it's going to be a story that you may not follow right away. That may take a couple playthroughs, may even take some reading, outside of the game to kind of get where he's going with this, because it is quite an artistic take. But P-Rock, at the end of the day, what did you think of the Death Stranding 2 showcase that we saw at SXSW 2025? And do you think, now P-Rock, so I want to know what you think of the game, first of all, and how far it's come. And then the other thing I want to ask you is, you saw the magnitude, you see the money, you see the time, the art, the work, the craftsmanship that's going into this game, whether you like it or you don't. You have to kind of signify that. Could this game steal? And I put the word steal. I don't mean just win outright, because this is not a regular year. Could it steal Game of the Year? You know what it's going against.
Wow, that's like a shotgun of questions. I'll start with this. First, people got to remember Kojima created this game in 3 years from just a concept in his head. When he left Konami with nothing, no engine, no rights to to Metal Gear, nothing, no tool sets, nothing. All he had with him was probably his coffee mug, his stapler, and a concept that was in his head.
And Norman Reedus' phone number.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And maybe a few connections, and obviously connections, right? Networking, stuff like that.
Right.
Multiple people went after him. Come with us, true something. Ultimately, what drew him was PlayStation, probably his long-term relationship with Sony. So of course, he's been making games for them for a better part of since the PS1. But then also he really looked at the Decima engine and he said, "Yeah, I could do something with this." Right.
That's right.
And he even improved it. Right. Part of it, some of the engine's improvements and stuff he did, which I think is absolutely amazing. That a developer that makes games also has the technical proficiency to improve engines and stuff like that. So with that engine and his idea, in 3 years he pumped out Death Stranding, right? Kojima's like the Stanley Kubrick of gaming. He's just weird. He does things his own way, and you're either gonna like him or you're not gonna like.
That's right.
There's no in between.
There is no in between.
He doesn't make games where you could just be in between. It's like, I really like this game, or nah, I'm not feeling this game, right? And Death Stranding was that game, it ended up being Game of the Year, right?
Yep.
Again, Death Stranding is one of those games you either like it or you don't. I enjoyed it, right? The sequel, when I saw the 10-minute trailer, now you see, I ain't gonna say now you see, but you can see how far the game is going with new technology, with the PS5, huge improvement with Decima. It's just like worlds apart. It's like this sequel is like, it kind of like if you saw the 10-minute trailer and you see how the game is about to come out and you look at it, now I can understand why some people look at other sequels and be like, it looks like DLC. Because this game is like a huge, he's done a lot.
That's right. That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Even some of the quick scenes, you can tell it looks like he improved the combat. He added more biomes, like you see now, blizzards and deserts and dust storms. The cities look more refined and stuff. So you can see, obviously, this is the thing we look for, right? If you have new generation of consoles, we want to see improvements compared to the previous games of the previous gens. And this looks like this one of those games. And depending how, I'll say this, Kojima's the only developer that can show you 10 minutes of a game and you still have no idea what's going on.
You have no idea what's going on.
He didn't spoil it for you at all. Like 10 minutes, right? While others, they could show you 2 minutes of a game and they pretty much ruined the game for you. So I think, yes, this game has a huge chance of stealing Game of the Year. It has the opportunity to be like, one of those breakout hits out of the blue. It has that potential.
That's what I mean. And P-Rock, you kind of nailed it when you said that. Like, the one thing about it, though, I watched the SXSW the show. I watched that twice now, 4K, and listen, it's hard to follow where they're going with this story. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm like, where in the world is right when I start to get it, I'm like, oh, I see. And then they do the next scene. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I have no idea. And even the first one was, you play through it twice. I'm on my second playthrough now, and legitimately it is it's a slow burn. But yeah, I think it could steal. A lot of people are like, come on, Mooch, you don't think it's going to win. I didn't say it's going to win outright. That's me saying, oh, this is going to be a game of the year. No question. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, you've got GTA 6. There's going to be so many games. I mean, I know these other games probably wouldn't win Game of the Year, but Borderlands 4, Mafia coming out. There's Judas is still slated to come out. That's Ken Levine's game. There's so many games that are still slated to come out in 25 if they don't get pushed out. So do I think it definitely wins? No, but P-Rock, you make some great points. And when you look at this as a sequel, compared to listen, I can't wait for Borderlands 4, but a lot of people are already telling me to cool my jets because Borderlands 4 looks like more what? More Borderlands, right? This does not look like just more of Death Stranding 1. This looks a lot more in-depth story, like I said, different set pieces. They've really expanded. Yeah. Nib, do you see where I'm going? That's why I use the word steal game of the year. I don't mean they're going to win it, but they could really just swipe the trophy.
No, I agree. So the thing is, like Porter was saying earlier, like this was developed in a very quick time frame, and it's basically them getting their feet wet, right, back into a new studio, new development, new engine. Then Decima is not their engine. Remember that it's Guerrilla Games, right? So they have to learn an entire new engine. Previously, they were using the Fox engine. So, and yeah, now this time they've had all that experience and all that time frame, and they have a lot of the assets and whatever. They've got to grips with everything. I agree with you. Look at from the trailer alone. There's a lot more to this. Like with all the environmental stuff, you've got sandstorms, you've got this, you've got that, like weather effects. And I know the original game had some of that, but you can clearly see that they've gone above and beyond with this, with the kind of things that will impact your gameplay and make things more difficult, whatever. So yeah, I think like this is probably going to be a much broader and bolder game. You can already see that it's more action centric as well. It's got more going on in that regard. So you're going to have potentially more combat, more bosses, more set pieces, more environmental effects, bigger story, bigger production. Yeah, it definitely is going to have the scope to potentially be a really strong game of the year candidate, and probably be better received than the original game. And one thing we can see that they clearly kind of are improving in iterating, because even the director's cut of Death Stranding actually reviewed better than the original game, because the balancing tweaks and the additional content and vehicles and things he added improved the game and improved the pacing. So clearly, yeah, so from like a development design perspective, they clearly understand where they need to make tweaks and improvements. Hence, even the original they iterated and improved. So imagine the sequel.
So I'm glad you said that, Nib, because when they went in with the director's cut and as they made progressive additions to the game as it went on, if you really want to shake somebody's hand, go find out who platinumed that game in the first year it came out. That's somebody's hand you got to shake, because they went through it without all those additions to make the deliveries and making travel across the land that much easier moving forward. And I shouldn't say easier, because yes, it did, but it made the game much more enjoyable. I think the additions are a welcome addition. I don't genuinely like when a game gets easier with time. I know a lot of people felt that way. I'm glad I beat and got the platinum for Returnal before any of the other things were changed. But like a lot of people say, oh, they shouldn't be this, it shouldn't be that. This is one of those games where I think that they were welcomed additions to the game. Death Singer, there was some people that were commenting on this earlier, and you saw it was, I think it was Babor who said it in the super chat. I mean, so this game is not coming to PC day one. So this, and I understand this is not your game, but if you could, Singer, just for the conversation, if this was another game that you wanted to play and GTA, is this something as a PC gamer that you scratch your head and you say, oh, that's another game on this list I got to wait for? I mean, it's not that there aren't enough games to keep you occupied, because that's always the counter answer, right? A lot of PC guys will say this, or anybody will say this, even if game's not coming to PlayStation, goes to Xbox, or goes to Xbox, goes to PlayStation. Well, I'll just wait. Well, listen, the answer is, well, of course you'll wait. I mean, because that's what you do, is you if you don't go buy the console, you wait. But is that something that bugs you? You think moving forward, you're still seeing dedicated games going to console here? That's 2 games this year. I know one you don't care about, one you do. But what do you think, Singer, when you see a game like this going to PS5? And it is going to be an impact game, I think. I think even if it doesn't win Game of the Year, I think it gets nominated.
I think it does get nominated. I don't think it'll win. I think if GTA releases this year, it wins it's going to be a landslide. It's just an unfortunate year to release. The year you release with GTA is the year you have to accept that you ain't winning shit. So it's going to be what it's going to be.
When was the last time GTA won Game of the Year? Though?
That's what I was going to ask. Has GTA won Game of the Year?
No, it hasn't. It's always been beaten by.
That's the one thing I think we're all saying that. And don't get me wrong, I may have been guilty of also saying it on prior week, but now when you stop and think about it, think about this too. Whenever you've watched the Oscars, I know all of us have watched the Oscars. There has to have been 1 year you watched and you knew that, you're like, oh, well, the Tom Cruise movie that got so much money, or the Brad Pitt movie did this, or blah, blah, blah. They don't win. They don't win. It's a movie out of left field that's very artsy. Maybe it didn't sell as many tickets as the other ones, the big blockbuster movies, but they win it for different reasons because of different people voting. Do you think that I mean, Nib, you bring up a good point there. That's the, and I'm not putting you in the hot seat because you saying GTA 6, you're in the masses on that. We're in the minority.
The counter argument is GTA 5 released on the 360 and PS3, right?
Yes,
so let's keep it whole stack.
Yes.
This game came out 2 generations ago, right? So, of course, it's a completely different time period. Now, what I do know is these publications that do the nominations, right? They love hype games. If you notice, they always put hype games on there. Like, a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't see Black Myth Wukong being on the Game of the Year list. Lots of people left it off because they didn't, boom, it was there. Now, it's because, is it the most successful game? No. But is it a Souls-like? Yes. But it's still got nominated. So I can see GTA get nominated because the hype around it, no game is going to have this kind of hype. And the media is going to jerk off to the game, no problem. I can't wait to see the Metacritic score on it because it's going to be ridiculous. And it's just got so much hype. I think it just wins it just because it is the next big game. It's the game everyone's been waiting for since GTA 5 release.
This is true.
Just look at how they've taken hostage of the release window. They don't even have to do shit. Everyone wants to get the fuck out of the way, right? So I just think they will. If it releases, I just think it'll get nominated and they will win.
So I actually agree with everything he's saying. I genuinely agree with all of it. But I think what it is like when you are a kind of a victim of your own hype, right? Because we played GTA so many times, we know what to expect. We know roughly, what the hits are.
Right, the wow factor, Nib. The wow factor, the wow factor in GTA though is going to be the scale of the game, right? Not necessarily what they're bringing into it. Yeah.
No, I agree, but I think also because the expectations are so high, there is always a chance like another game that is maybe a bit more unique or whatever. I'm not saying necessarily Death Stranding because I think Split Fiction, it sounds crazy.
Split Fiction might be a dub. That might win.
I think Split Fiction could be a darling as well because there's something unique and innovative and quirky about it, right? And sometimes these kind of games do, excel as well. But again, I'm not saying GTA 6 does not win. I think it has a very, very high chance to win, but I think just as easily something else could win. And like you just said, and I just said, despite all those things being true, GTA has actually not won a Game of the Year award in so long because there's always that title that is maybe not as iterative. We haven't seen as many of them. It's a bit more unique. It tugs the heartstrings a bit more or whatever else.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that. And like I say, Detzinger, don't get me wrong. There's nobody that could say you're wrong. I think your stats are correct, but I don't know. And a lot of people are going to also say, well, it's Jeff Keighley's show and his best friend's Kojima. That's going to come into play.
No, it's not though, because when Death Stranding 1 got nominated, Sekiro won. Now I don't know if it's because he favors From Software over Kojima.
That's right. So
it's like Sekiro came out and was just like, I'll take Game of the Year. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
So Sekiro went against Death Stranding. P-Rock, you were saying it won Game of the Year. Was it a different Game of the Year? Was it a different award? It wasn't the Keighley's?
The what? Say again?
Remember when you said Death Stranding had won Game of the Year, but
I think it was 2019.
No, it was Sekiro.
Sekiro won.
It was nominated.
Sekiro won. Oh, okay. No.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when you said it, I was like, oh, yeah.
It was before. It was before From Software did their 1-2 punch of winning with Sekiro and then winning with Elden Ring, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, Death Stranding 2 will get nominated. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will get nominated. I also think Split Fiction will get nominated. And then you're like, okay, well, GTA 6 gets nominated. You only have like 2 more slots. I think you'll probably fill out, and then, it'll just come down to how good is GTA, right? Because if the hype carries through, it'll get nominated and win. But I mean, it's potential. Something else could win it. I just think nothing is getting in the way of GTA 6 this year.
No, that's fair. Shout out to the great WoolleyGamer. He says God of War versus Red Dead Redemption 2. Remember? He says Death Stranding 2 has insane hype. I do think that, and don't forget, it is going to be in the latter half, Nib, too. People always think that games that come out, from the middle of the year onward generally have a better chance. Of course, that's not always the case. But
here's the thing as well. It doesn't even have to be a game that is, like, for example, GTA 4, Fallout 4 beat it, right? Fallout 4 is like 88 on Metacritic. GTA 4 is like 97 or something outrageous. Like, so even critical acclaim, you can have that distinction sometimes, because and I found that interesting. Why did Fallout 4 win? And I went back and watched some of the videos, of IGN covering it, etc. And basically Fallout, the quirky humor, the world or whatever, it just resonated with them more, even though they acknowledged that GTA from a technological and production perspective was the superior game. It just didn't tug at them in the same way, because games are personal like that, right? You can have all the flashy scale and technology and everything like that, but how does it make you feel? And Fallout beat it again, and every Last of Us beat another game, and then God of War beat Red Dead, and then what is it, I can't remember what beat GTA last time, but yeah, every time it's been beaten by another game.
What beat GTA 5?
We can't even remember now.
That was 20. Was that 2012 or 2013? I mean, you're going back a ways.
2012.
Yeah, 2012. You're going back a ways.
Yeah.
So
if it was 2012, I don't know. I think it was 2013 actually, because I think Last of Us beat it.
Games don't release with the intention of, hey, we're going to release this year and win Game of the Year. Of course, it's an attribute they would love to have, but my point being is that so shout out to JC 2013. He says you guys are forgetting another nominee could very well be Ghost of Yotai, which I do agree is going to be
100%
probably nominated as well. But again, you've got some big names out there, so you can only have one winner. And what does it come down to? I think that's one of the things when you have a Ghost of Yotai, a Death Stranding 2. There was a few other games you got. Split Fiction. When you have a lot of these games that have done so well over the course of the year, that kind of hurts your GTA 6s a little. It does a little bit. It takes a couple of votes. It might take a couple of votes away, And that's what might end up getting that shocker at the end where you say, wow, okay, I didn't see that game taking the W, but they did. So I don't know. I mean, I will say, if you're a gambling person, you're probably going to put your money on GTA, and that's a safe bet. But there could be, another horse in the race here. I don't know.
They could be. You look at there's a whole I look at DICE, right? Because DICE has it all the way back to 2000, right?
Yeah.
And before then, and it's like you look at the stuff that gets nominated. It's like when I look around that time, if you look at 2013, you have The Last of Us winning, and then Dragon Age Inquisition winning, then Fallout. Overwatch somehow won. I have no idea how, but shout out to Overwatch. And you have for the most part, it's a lot of small games winning. 2019 for DICE was Untitled Goose Game. 2020 was Hades. 2021 was It Takes Two. 2024 is Astrobot. These are all smaller games. So the only from 2018 onwards, only 3 AAA games won their Game of the Year, and the rest were taken up by smaller games. So anything can happen at the Game Awards.
Well, Eric, absolutely does. Eric, the producer, says, Mooch, with 8 months left, why are we pre-filling Game of the Year slots? Well, the thing about it this time, Eric, is this is a little bit of a different kind of year, isn't it? There's games that are coming. Listen, I love Borderlands. I don't think with these games we just mentioned, I don't think Borderlands gets a nomination. I don't. If it's another year, Borderlands might make it. So
It's crazy. It's crazy, isn't it? Because like we've barely started the year, and already there's contenders. Because Monster Hunter Wild is a strong
Oh, that's
contender.
right.
Split Fiction is a strong contender, and there's going to be so many. Ghosts of Yotai, Death Stranding 2, GTA. Like it's going to be another one of those epic years. Like I just feel like gaming at the moment is in such a good place, and that's why
Yeah.
I know some other people disagree.
Well,
Maybe they've lost that spark for gaming, but
I think
personally,
I think after this year though, Nib, you're talking about the people that are a little bit, like they said they've lost their itch for gaming. I think this year is going to bring that back for those. For me, I agree with you. I think this has been a great generation. I've enjoyed it. I think it's right on par with last generation. If I wouldn't use the words better because each generation kind of brings a different flavor, right? So it is what it is.
What I'll say is like the last generation, amazing games. Some of my favorite games came quite late in the generation, right? Because obviously they take time to cook. Whether you're your Last of Us, your Uncharted, or whatever, they take time to cook. And I think even the forward half of this year, because God of War Ragnarok is my game of the generation so far, but there's been a lot of like really quality titles, even ones from people that we didn't expect. Like I love Black Myth Wukong, and to be honest, that was. I thought it was going to be like vaporware almost. I was like, is this game actually going to play like this, look like this, or whatever? So there's been, if I look through my game of the year list, even Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and there's been some such powerful tentpole games that are like,
yes,
I would say good enough to be in my like top 20 of all time, maybe. And even going away from that, like Forza Horizon 5, fantastic. GT7, I think GT7 is like the ultimate return to form. I've been playing this game since I was a kid, right? Religiously. And hand on heart, I think, despite the issues when it first launched and the server things and the changes they made, which they changed back straight away, like fundamentally as a whole package, and with all the upgrades and body kits and all this other cool stuff, I genuinely think GT7 is the best GT game since GTA 3 A-Spec. And like, just a phenomenal title. So yeah, I think there's.
I don't know how people like get either. I don't know. Like this year is just completely stacked, as I said. Like like February killed me in more ways than one because of how many. There was like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Avowed. Then you had Yakuza. Then I had Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak. Then I had Civ 7. Then I had Monster Hunter Wild. That's 6 games I'm looking forward to in 1 month, right? And then you go through March, like, okay, there's a whole bunch. I still got Stellar Blade to look forward to. I still got Lost Soul Aside to look forward to. I still got The Outer Worlds 2. I still got Doom. I still got any games that haven't been announced yet. Go on.
My backlog is already so big. I'm playing Monster Hunter Wilds, right? Loving it. I've got Kingdom Come 2 on the back burner. Then there's Split Fiction, sorry. And there was another title as well, I forgot. Avowed. Like already, like there's more games than I can keep up with playing, because let's be honest, Monster Hunter Wilds is one of those where like the end game, even though I've beaten it, there's still so much more to do. And I'm, sorting out my build, and I'm tweaking the, all my like decorations and equipment, and it's just super fun. Like going with your friends and just killing these massive ass things. Like it's really fun. So yeah, like if you are not content with gaming right now, you have either really narrow taste in games, or your spirit and spark for gaming has died a little bit. And you know what? That's natural as well. I'm not like criticizing that. Some people, because of life, because of stresses of work and family or whatever else, sometimes you do just lose that itch temporarily. Absolutely. But it will come back.
Absolutely. I agree. And this is the year to come back for sure.
Ninja Gaiden's coming out. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge fan of the series. And 4, oh, come on, give it to me. Put it in my veins. And then you got like Metal Gear Solid coming out. And then I haven't even got to like Borderlands.
Oh my god, yeah.
I've always been a fan of Borderlands, and then I got other games that haven't been announced that will get announced at like the summer showcase this year that are going to be releasing this year. Then I got GTA 6 to come, and then there's there is just so much. Last year was hectic, this year's hectic, next year's going to be hectic because I got Gears, I've got Fable, which I'm hyper looking forward to. The list goes on. So I don't know if gaming. I mean, gaming is as good as it's gonna get right now.
I'm very glad that you guys are going down this, and a lot of people don't list it, and it's maybe because they don't care. But I always say, don't forget, Judas is coming out. This is Ken Levine is the one that
Judas.
He is from he's the BioShock creator.
Doom is coming out like that. Come on, man.
Yeah,
There's
Doom is
so
coming
much.
out, right? So this is one of the things I want to bring up right now. This is why I have people like, well, the PS5's not doing. Listen, the PS4, a lot of the games that we loved and we keep talking about day in and day out on every show you listen to is the latter half of the PS4 generation. That was when a lot of the big games came out. So I'll tell you right now, I really think that you're going to see 25, 26, 27. And if this generation does go till 28, that is an unbelievable 4 years you're going to have of games coming out. You just heard Deathsinger and Nib go through the list. I don't have to say them again. It's an unbelievable list. And I'm at a point right now where I'm actually, listen, I told you guys, I'm dedicated. When I start a game, I'm trying to finish it. I'm not going to 1,000 out of 1,000 it, but I'm still playing through Avowed. I have started out Death Stranding Director's Cut. I want to play that. I'm not going to platinum it, but I am going to play it through because I want to have the whole story intact in my mind again before Death Stranding 2 comes out. So I'm playing Death Stranding Director's Cut. Those are the two games I'm playing right now. But there was a game that you had mentioned that's coming out into March that you got my Deathsinger. What were the ones that you just said? There was one that you had mentioned that I'm hoping I get done by the end of March. I'm not sure which one you had mentioned. I can't remember all the lists.
There's like 30 games going through my head that I want to play. And unfortunately for me, most of them are RPGs. And everyone know how that's going to turn out because they're all going to be like 60-hour games. And I'm just going to be on the RPG grind. I'm not complaining because RPG is seeing a renaissance in the space. Like people thought it was like Dragon Age failed, and then people were like, "Well, RPG is going to be good." Like Baldur's Gate 3 was amazing, but it's like, how are the RPG genre going to go? It looks like the RPG genre is coming back. JRPG and Western RPG for that matter. So, I mean, I'm perfectly content grinding away. And sure, I miss out on Death Stranding 2, but I just listed you 30 games, so I'm not really missing out on one game.
Well, Deathsinger, aren't you getting Assassin's Creed Shadows, Deathsinger?
Yes, and I'm getting Expedition 33.
My God,
that looks incredible. By the way.
I hope there's
Expedition 33.
When is that? When does that launch?
Oh my God, that looks so good. Yeah.
When does it come out? I can't remember.
That's not March, is it?
Expedition.
There was another game. It's a multi-platform game that was shown at PlayStation's recent State of Play. It's another one by a Chinese developer. It's a lady who's got like powers and stuff. I also thought like that looked phenomenal. I think it's like the tale of something. I don't know what it is, but it was
April Mooch.
April
24th is when Expedition 33 comes out.
Yeah.
Like, see, I just don't have time. Like, I'm sat here and I'm like, well, I beat Avowed, got Kingdom, about to get to the end of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I still got Civ 7 on the go. But it's like, so I'll play Assassin's Creed Shadows. That'll probably take me up to Expedition. But then Doom's going to release around that time period. I can't remember when it releases. It's like April or something. So I'm going to have to... It's just too hectic. So gaming is as good as it's going to be. And shout out to Expedition 33, because yes, it's a French studio, but they nailed what a turn-based JRPG is supposed to be. Like, it's so good. I love the turn-based.
Well, I'll tell you. So Babor, he's got a question here, and he's saying here, let's see. He says, "LOL." He says he's listing PlayStation games B tier in between games. Anyways, why is Death Stranding a PlayStation Studio production? I thought it was a second-party game. So, well, that is a kind of a slippery slope, is it not, Nib? I don't know if you or P-Rock want to tackle this one. Because, I mean, it's going to be... It's published by PlayStation, but you have... Say again?
Just go what Yoshida recently said. Yoshida... I mean, I think everybody has their own unique definition, but Yoshida kind of clarified it. So the way they see it from their point of view, this is PlayStation point of view, I'm not going to say industry point of view, but PlayStation point of view is first-party game is something that they publish directly and they own the IP. So... really doesn't matter who developed it. If they pay for it and they own it, it's first party.
Yeah, he even said second party games, like internally, they still view them as first party. Financially, they do too.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then the second party is they pay for it, but they don't own the IP. So
Like
it's not
Lost Soul
theirs.
aside.
Yeah, so it's not theirs. And then after that is third party relationships, whatever they do right there. But the difference, I guess the fine line for them, what's first party and what's second party is ownership. Not so much developers. It doesn't matter if it's their own developers or if they got another developer to do it. I think a great example is Heavenly Sword, right? That's Ninja Theory. So those are the developers for Heavenly Sword, but they own the IP. So to them, that is first party. So any game that they, obviously pay and own, first party. They pay but don't own, second party. And then after that is just marketing and third party.
But in this case, P-Rock, PlayStation, Sony, if you will, they sold back the IP to Kojima, did you not?
Yes. So they sold back the IP. So I guess that's really second party now.
Right.
Because they no longer own the IP. They sold it back to Kojima. So it's second party.
But they're still publishing it.
Oh, they're still publishing. Yeah. But that's what they say. They'll pay for it, but they don't own it. They'll pay for it, but they don't own the IP. So the fine line really is ownership. That's really what I got from it. If you listen to anything else, the question for the fine line of whether it's a first party game, and this again, according to Yoshida, how Sony views it, do they own the IP? If they own the IP, it's first party.
Okay.
That's really as simple as it gets. If they own it, it's first party. If they don't own it, now it's whether it's second party or not. And second party is whether they pay for the publishing or not. So like Stellar Blade, second party.
Second
they
party.
Pay for the publishing,
right?
But they don't own that IP. It doesn't belong to them.
But let me ask you a question. So let me ask you about how about Ninja Gaiden 4?
So technically, that would be and that's why I said this is Sony. I didn't say industry because according to Microsoft, Ninja Gaiden is first party. But the problem is they don't own that IP.
They don't own the IP.
But again, Yoshida was talking about Sony. So that's why I caveated with this is not an industry definition. I'm just going by what Sony said and how they view it. Microsoft views Ninja Gaiden as first party. So I don't think there is an industry standard in this conversation.
That does, and it's interesting. That's interesting. So there's
what the company wants.
There's Major League Baseball. And then there's the Japanese have their own baseball, but in both, if the ball goes over the wall, it's a home run, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the difference is
two different leagues.
I mean, it's a good. I get the analogy, but the analogy is like you have to have a standard for sports in the game industry. Remember that one time exclusives meant only on one console, and now. Exclusives there's console exclusives, there's timed exclusives, there's console launch exclusives.
Yeah,
these terms are all new. That's never had that.
That's right.
Well, there was a time where exclusive was just
good point.
One, So I think in the business industry they could redefine whatever they want because ultimately it's how they want to sell the product to you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. So it's not you can't do that with baseball. You can't keep switching rules every year because then they'll be like, "What's going on?" So I guess
Right.
So that's why I said what Sony mentioned was a Sony standard, not an industry standard.
Yeah,
I personally think Sony standard makes the most sense. Logically speaking, it makes the most sense, right? I know some people want to add, you got to add you got to include the development studio. And for a time, I saw it that way too. But then taking Insomniac for a while, right?
Right.
Insomniac for a long time was never owned by Sony. But they have games like Ratchet and Clank, and we always saw that as first party. Even though Insomniac technically,
but that's because Ratchet and Clank, the IP was owned by Sony.
Exactly. So we kind of So I think Yoshida clear it up, and I think it makes the most sense logically.
I do
too. First party owns the IP. It doesn't really matter who makes the game. They're gonna decide. Look at Spider-Man. They decided Insomniac, who at the time wasn't owned, but Sony said, "Hey, we got the rights to this." We chose Insomniac instead of the studios we already own. So I think that's the best. And I think Nintendo worked that way too. Metroid's not made by a studio they own. It's always made by most of them were made by studios they contracted.
Well, what was the case with Gears of War, the first three? Wasn't that was the IP owned by Microsoft or was that owned by Epic? Right.
That's a great question because not even that. It wasn't even owned by them.
Right. That was
Epic.
Buy
the IP till after
Gears
3.
That's what I thought.
You
But
know,
yeah.
when Epic was done, but technically speaking, that was a third party deal.
That's a third party deal. Yeah.
It's a third party deal, not even second party. It was
No,
third party.
because they didn't own the developers or the IP.
Yeah, they didn't own the IP. They didn't own developers. All they did was here's money.
They
keep it off.
Keep it off PlayStation. Yep, that was paid. They just keep it off there. Yep.
And Epic agreed until they officially bought it when Epic was done with the IP. Which is strange because I'm surprised Epic gave up. Like, I don't know. That was pretty weird.
I don't know. We don't know how much the bag was. We don't know how much the bag was worth.
Well,
but
I mean, to be honest, Epic has always been a strange company because you look at Epic, like Epic back in the day versus Epic now. Like, they put out that Fortnite Save the World colossal failure, and then they turn around and make the global success, which is Fortnite Battle Royale. And it's like Epic is done that, but Epic has always been a strange publisher to me because you think of the games Epic have published, they've always been weird. I don't know. There's something wrong with Epic.
Yeah, that is an odd situation, but I mean that's it is weird to me. I understand what you're saying, and maybe the baseball analogy wasn't great, Puerto Rico, but the reason I used baseball was I wasn't going to say Mets Yankees with the ball going over the wall because you say someone would turn around and go Mooch. That's MLB. I tried to say the Japanese baseball league is a huge league over there. It's massive. The money, it's big. I don't know if it's MLB big. Maybe it is. Maybe it's bigger. I don't know. But that's why you had Otani wanting to stay with the Dodgers because he wants that money that goes back and forth between Japan and LA is big money. So I mean that's why I said there's two different leagues, but the rules are the same. You can't really say that we're playing baseball over here in Japan, but when you hit the ball out of the ballpark, it's only a triple. So that's why I thought the terminology, even though Microsoft's kind of changing it a bit there, that's one of the ones that I'm like, I was kind of shocked when I read that. I was like, that's interesting. That's interesting because you can always change the rules, right? Even in baseball, you said baseball, they don't change the rules. They do. But it takes the entire, 32 teams to want to change it. You'll have to vote on it. There's a lot there. Just to have one day where you're like, no, now it's first party. You're like,
well, that's what I meant by like you like in order to change the thing, it's a league, right? But gaming industry is not a league. Like no one's beholden to a certain rule. Like for example,
no, but what's happening? But Puerto Rico, what's happening in one company in the same business is the same thing. If me and you have the same, like we're both making games, okay? We're the platform holders, P-Rock and Mooch consoles. And all of a sudden, we're in the same business, we're in the same country, we're doing the same business. And then all of a sudden, I start calling everything mine. And you're like, that's not yours. And I'm like, no, it is now.
Well, think about it this way. Sony reports console sales, Microsoft doesn't. Who's going to force Microsoft to start reporting console sales? They're all in the same business, right? Nintendo does it. Sega did it. PlayStation always done it. Microsoft says, "Yeah, we're not doing that."
Who's
gonna force? But what
I'm trying to say is, I hear you. That's not exactly one for one, but I hear you.
No, but what I'm saying, Microsoft says, "Yeah, Ninja Game's first party." Who's gonna tell them no? Is Sony gonna go in and be like, "Hey, CMA"?
No, because
but that's the point I'm trying to say. Like, no one's gonna say anything. Like,
no, but listen, that's fine.
The community of gamers argue about it.
That's fine. That's fine, but that's like living in the city and two pizza places next to each other, and both pizza places are calling it a slice, but mine's a traditional slice with mozzarella cheese, sauce, and of course the dough, and yours is just the cheese and the bread. I mean, I'm not going to go in your shop and tell you you're wrong.
Don't go to Romania. Because that's literally their pizza.
I said the city. That's why I said the city. Because
don't go to Romania, Mooch. You're gonna have a heart attack.
No, listen. By the way, a good cheese on a good dough. I got no problem with that. I'm just trying to say you can't be like, if I call up
and I got that, I'm like,
Puerto Rock.
My mouth shut.
I can see it. You being like Puerto Rock pizza. What can I do for you? I'll take. I want to give me a cheese. No problem. I go there and you leave the sauce off. We got a problem.
They'd be like, with or without sauce? Right? Like, how else do you make a pizza?
With or without sauce? Right? That's the same thing when they're like, and they're like, well, it's first party. Is it? Where's the sauce? All right.
It is here.
Yeah, it is here. Yeah. So I guess, listen, like you said, when it's your pizzeria, you do what you want to do. So to Microsoft, hey, do what you want to do in the pizzeria. It's fine. Listen, great show tonight, guys. It's 9:41. I kept these guys here almost 3 hours. I can't say thanks enough. I don't feel so bad for Porter Rock because Porter Rock's still over on the West Coast. He is moving East Coast again, which, by the way, when I saw you say that on the video, I got all excited, P-Rock. Okay? And then all of a sudden I find out you're not coming back to New York. You're going to Florida. And I'm like, come on, man. I mean, we're so close now, P-Rock.
The state taxes.
I know. Listen, I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you. But, here we go. What? No sauce? He's going down to Florida. That's fine.
Yeah.
But, listen, P-Rock over there.
Hopefully they have sauce down there.
They definitely have sauce. I got news for you. I've been to Florida a couple times recently. The pizza's okay. It's not great. But it's okay.
That's what we can say. Outside of New York, pizza's just okay.
It's okay. It's okay. That's what I say all the time. I love when I go to the West Coast and they're like, I got a great pizza place. I'm like, stop lying.
No,
all right.
They're lying. Yes, they're lying.
Stop lying to me.
All of them.
I got a good friend of mine. Shout out to the great James Vincent. James, he's over in Chicago and he's telling. I asked him. I said, listen, I'm going to ask you, Chicago deep dish or New York? Because he's had both. And he goes, I got to go Chicago. I go, I'm going to let you off the hook because you live there. I can't. How can you say to someone in Chicago? It's right, but I said in all honesty, it's New York all day. But that nonetheless, we can do a whole show on that. I'm starving. All right, nonetheless, shout out to JC 2013. He goes, Mooch, I'm still here. Where'd you go? Where did he? I don't know where did he go? Shout out to JC 2013. You guys are all fantastic. But meanwhile, while it's only 6:43 over on Pacific time. It's legitimately, it's an hour back for them, so it's only 1:43, I believe, over in England. So shout out to Nib and Deathsinger for sticking it out. I really appreciate you guys. You're all fantastic. I'll go in reverse order and say, Nib, great to have you, buddy. You had quite the travels. You were everywhere. I don't know where you weren't. Forget Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah.
How about Nib? Nib, great to have you, buddy, as always. Keep doing what you do, man. You educate people. You keep people very entertained on X.
Show.
Let people know where they can find you. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much. Awesome show as always. It's just NIB95_ on X.
Well, guys, go over and follow Nib. If you're not, believe me when I tell you, you're missing out. Shout out to Nib. Appreciate it. The great Porter Rock 77. P-Rock, listen, you're doing a lot right now. You got No Lag podcast you got going on Tuesdays. Then you got your own, which you said solo, but you're having more and more guests on Friday as we go through. So I think he's going to end up having a duo cast going on Fridays. But he's got a Friday show, and then he does this show. That's a lot. I mean... you know what I mean? That's just that's a lot. Retiring. But P-Rock, let them know where they can find you. Let them know about all the shows, buddy, because I think you're doing great. And not just that, you're also doing 2 or 3 actual videos a week, which is just, I don't know how you're doing it, to be honest with you. I really don't.
I'm trying, right? I'm trying. It's all for the audience, right? Do it for the fans.
That's right.
Porter Rock 77. You can catch me here on YouTube and also on Twitter and Blue Sky under the same name. The only difference is on Twitter that has an underscore because somebody else has my name. I'm trying to find a guy to get rid of it. But other than that, Tuesday 60 Frames No Lag podcast with the crew. We got Jada, we got Extreme, we got Craig Harris, we got the Brain, and then whatever guest we got J-Dub on Fridays, and J-Dub, of course, the antagonizer himself. And then on Fridays, I do the Friday, or what's called now Friday Night Live, right? And yes, it's solo, but with one guest. So I try to get one guest, and that one is more like kind of like just 2 people at the sports bar. Casual environment, not ambush journalism, no arguments, no gotcha moments, no smoke. It's just somebody that could, show up, have a conversation, talk a little bit about gaming, maybe talk a little bit about their personal interests in gaming, stuff like that. If they're a content creator, what they got going on. Very casual, laid back, I think I got a lot of positive response over it, and I'm getting lots of people in the DM saying, invite this person, invite that person. I'm like, yep, I'm trying to keep up. This week I got Dark 1985. So he's going to be the special guest tomorrow, same time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then, Detective Caesar's on here. I'm trying to get him as a guest, so I'm going to have to reach out.
Yes, Caesar's a good guest. He's very good. He's a talker.
I'm try to get him next
week.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get him next week. And then we just go on from there. And that's it. Hope you enjoy the content. Doing my best.
Do your thing, P-Rock. And shout out to Doc Dark as well. So we got to get Doc back on here. Doc's always great when he comes on here. He'll go, Mooch, wait a minute now. Didn't you say? You know him. He's like our Columbo on gaming podcasts. He's great. He's always keeping track. So shout out to Doc Dark. Great show tonight, guys. Love the show. I'll do a quick little shout out to the folks that had to leave early and a few that couldn't make it. They wrote me during the show. They said, Mooch, I really wanted to be there. Yes.
You missed me.
Oh, Dessinger, I apologize. You're like the star of the show. Guys, the star of the show. And I was reading JC. I'm going back and forth with JC 2013. He's like, damn it, Mooch, I live over in Vermont. I said, well, I'm sorry, JC. I'm going back and forth with him. Singer, I apologize. I was pulling up the next list on my show notes. But the great Death Singer, everybody. You guys, you know this. He's become everyone's favorite. I see all you guys in the chat. Why is Death Singer here? Meanwhile, you hang out with Death Singer the entire show. It's like I'm not even here anymore. Singer, thank you for being here as well. The great Death Singer also at 1:47 a.m., I believe it is. I could be wrong. My math's wrong, Singer, because it's close enough nonetheless. But Singer, thank you for being here, and thank you for putting up with not only my ridiculousness, but also the audience giving you, they give you a little bit of work to do every Thursday evening.
Well, I mean, the audience don't know me as a gamer. It's like, before even
you
Xbox
play everything, kinda.
Like before even Xbox came into the picture, I was the one in the playground fighting the good fight against the N64, and I was repping PlayStation 1. Like,
that's right.
People.
Yeah.
We were having debates for years in the high school playground. It's like, oh yeah, we have Mario Kart. Yeah, well, I have Gran Turismo. It's a much better racing game. Done it all before. It's like, it's just when Xbox released, Halo caught my attention, and I never looked back. And it's like, it is what it is. So,
this is true.
Bit of gaming history there for you. And I was originally a Sega fan. Sega was my first love, and I was never a Nintendo fan. I was always a Sega fan, and it is what it is. So, the logical step was to move to Xbox from Sega, because bear in mind, they had a bunch of the Sega IP, right? So, it was, it is what it is. So there we go. A little bit of history for people.
History for everybody. I mean, I happen to be a Nintendo in those console worlds. I had a Sega Genesis, but I was a Nintendo guy.
Oh, I was all about Sonic. Oh man,
a great game.
Just before you leave, sorry to elongate your. Have any of you played Split Fiction yet, or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, or Monster Hunter Wilds?
I played I'm about to beat Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and it's already my Game of the Year nominee.
No, I haven't, Nib. And the reason I talked to you behind the scenes a little bit, I ended up playing through and I'm still going through Avowed, and like I said, then I started Death Stranding. So I just Monster Hunter Worlds is going to be one of those ones that I want to play, and I think unfortunately this year I probably won't even get to it, and that sucks.
Thing is, I got halfway through Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and then Avowed released, and obviously I'm going to drop that for Avowed because I'm a huge Obsidian fan. So now I've beaten Avowed, I could go back to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, finish that, then do Monster Hunter Wilds, because I play that before I play Assassin's Creed.
Well, I'll ask you, Singer, I'll ask you the same question I asked Nib then. Are you playing through Monster Hunter Wilds solo, or you want to play through with a team or a co-op?
Oh, I have one of the biggest Monster Hunter fans in the world in the Discord I'm in, and he's begging it. He's like, everyone come play Monster Hunter. Everyone come play. So I'm going to play Monster Hunter with him because he is a god tier Monster Hunter player. So I'm going to be like, yo, carry me through the game, my guy. Let's go.
Okay.
Co-op.
See, that's the thing. I don't like being carried through the game. I like to go through even. I can't stand that.
I mean, it'll be even, but he knows all the ins and outs of the builds and whatnot. So when I go for a build, he'll be able to put me on the right track.
Fair.
What's the best gear setup? What's the best weapon? Because, he'll understand all the minute details. My gaming skills are perfectly fine. Don't worry about that. No, I'm not going to get carried through no game. I'm the one who does the carrying. So,
Well, nonetheless, I want to hear what your adventures are through that. P-Rock, are you playing Monster Hunter Wilds, or that's a pass?
Yeah, no, I'm not into Monster Hunter at all.
Yeah, it's probably going to end up being a pass for me too, just because of the list of games that are coming out this year. P-Rock, and I mean, you know this. You're saying it yourself. You just said it with your schedule, your time, everything else. I mean, I'm playing through two games. Again, I'm not going to get the 100% on either of them, but I want to play them through, enjoy them, and then I'll play the next game, which is going to be AC Shadows probably for me. So, all right, I don't feel so bad if P-Rock's also on the pass there because
I don't like I didn't like the front. Like I tried when was it on a PS4 when Monster Hunter blew up really on the PlayStation and consoles.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I tried that one and I wasn't feeling it.
I didn't listen. Monster Hunter Worlds I played on Xbox. I thought it was pretty good. But again, I was in Death Singer's situation where I had a team. It was like me and two other people, and we would just meet up every night, and it was a blast to go out there, crush these you're crushing these different monsters, going back to your hub world, and there's just everything you can do, like decorate you can create your meals, your this, your that. It was just awesome. It was a fun experience. That's why I find that playing it solo is not as fun for me.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, Porter, did you play it in a group or on your own?
No, so it's not about the game is not bad. I was just not interested in playing a game where all right, hunt monsters, come back, get more gear, go back out. I just wasn't interested in that type.
No, but I mean, did you play it on your own or with friends?
No, I played with friends. I just
okay.
Like it's the longevity. I wasn't willing to commit to get better at this. I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want.
It is time consuming if you want to get better at it. Yeah,
Destiny as well, so it felt like I was doing the same thing in a way, like trying to, grind and get good, get gear. I wasn't interested in the grinding.
The gameplay loop.
Yeah, the loop.
The gameplay loop.
I wasn't interested in the game.
That's fair.
I think that was the start of me moving away from multiplayer. To be honest, I think that was like the beginning of the end.
Yeah. No, it's fair.
Who I am right now.
It's fair, but that's a legit question from Nib, though. Because I think that playing with friends would change the impact you're having. But it's funny, everybody here is saying they want to play with friends, and everyone I've reached out to, though, pretty much in the gaming community, they're all playing, they're streaming, they're playing solo, and they're enjoying it solo. And I'm like, hey, no, more power to you. That's a game I think you got to jam out with some people, have a good time. You go because the fights, when you're fighting some of those monsters, those can go. Some of those fights are like 20 minutes plus. I mean, Nib, you tell me if I'm wrong. I haven't played since last generation. They're a long.
So here's what I'll say about the new one, right? Because I wasn't so high on it to begin with. I was like, it's all right, but the more I played it, the more I enjoyed it, especially with a group. Basically, if you just like boss rush type games, because what they've done, because obviously there's been numerous Monster Hunters now, and we all know what to expect, right? So it's kind of like they've said, you know what, we're not going to waste your time with little creatures and normal, regular enemies. We're just going to give you epic boss after epic boss, each one with a new set piece, new background design, new weapon attacks and features and anatomy and stuff like that. And because of that, I really enjoy it, because it's like a fat-free boss rush experience. Not boss rush, but one after the other you're having. So if that appeals to you, and you want to take on these massive things with friends, one after the other, without any limited wasting time, get the game, because it's unlike the other games, or like, I'm really enjoying it.
You know what's crazy about Monster? People are like, 20-30 minute boss fights. Yeah, you've never played an MMO then, because if you played Final Fantasy 14 or something, like those boss fights go on for like an hour solid, 2 hours.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference with Monster Hunter, right? Here's the difference with Monster Hunter versus like your typical MMO. Typical MMO, a lot of them are spongy, but there's not much dynamism. With Monster Hunter, yes, it's a 20-minute fight, but you're concentrating on breaking off his horn to get the piece for your armor.
Right.
You're concentrating on destroying his wing connection so that he can't fly away. You're concentrating on breaking his feet so he's can't run around as much. So there's strategy and dynamism just to the anatomy, and on top of that, like, another monster might come, so you might try and get the attention of another monster, lure him over so them two fight, and one's like jumping on the other one's back. So you see these crazy epic like emergent set piece things. And a bit like Horizon Zero Dawn, there's more emphasis on kind of the way you engage with enemies. You're not just blindly shooting them. You want to hit weak spots. You want to break off certain things. You want to, just like in Horizon, you would attack the gun so you could use it against them, or you would break off a specific piece of armor so you could get to the coolant inside or whatever. It's like that. So because of that, I find the battles, even if they're long, way more engaging and rewarding.
That's actually very true.
The same with Final Fantasy 14, because it's like, for a boss fight, the first hour is learning the mechanics, right? Because if you look at like Endwalker, when you fight Zodiac, for example, it's like the mechanic is he'll put AoEs, but then he'll flip the arena you're on around, and you can't move, so you have to stand in the correct position to when the table moves, you don't end up in the AoE. So the AoEs are static, and then you have to position yourself where when it turns clockwise or anti-clockwise, that you don't end up in it. And there's a whole bunch of, it's a shit ton of thinking. Like, MMOs aren't like brain dead. There's a whole bunch of dynamism in there. Like, you need to make sure all the mechanics are on point, someone fails, It's a whole thing. So I'm just saying I like long boss fights.
I'm definitely gonna put that game on the back burner. But if there happens to be a month where there's in between games and I got the itch to play a new game, I'll probably pick that up later in the year. Then I don't know if we're gonna get that break.
I don't think you'll have one.
I don't think you'll have
a break.
I don't think so, because I think the summer's Mafia. Mafia is gonna take me a while to get through. So
I forgot Mafia as well.
Yeah,
that's gonna have to go on the back burner. I don't know when it's gonna.
Yeah, like I'm running out of days on the calendar. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Listen, if you didn't enjoy gaming this generation, put your seatbelt on. 2025 is gonna take you for a ride. Great conversation with everybody. Shout out to the great Slow-Mo. By the way, Slow-Mo wrote me. He says, Mooch, I'm not gonna be able to make it. I got held up at work. We're gonna try and get Slow-Mo on for next week. Shout out to it's at Slow-Mo backslap. Same thing for the Great Gaming Forte. It's gaming_forte. The Crap Gamer had to leave early, but he was on fire tonight. It's at _Crap Gamer. It's Crap Gamer Reviews over on YouTube. Who else was here? D-Batch couldn't make it tonight. I'm going to talk to D after the show. We got to get a hold of D. He's got so many graphic cards. He's like, Mooch, I got to do like all these review videos. He's like, I'm going to try and make it. I'm not sure if I can make it. We'll see if we can get D on next week. Shout out to D-Batch. It's at D_Batch. Just seeing it. BRAP couldn't make it. He wrote me earlier this week. Said, Mooch, maybe next week. This week I got practice with the kids. So shout out to BRAP. It's at BRAP_podcast. And I believe you guys already know Craig, the tech guy. He had to leave earlier too. Shout out to Craig. He reached out to me. Says, Mooch, I'd like to get on the show. You're always welcome to be on the show. Reach out to me early so we can get a seat. Not a problem. Guys, outstanding chat. Thank you again to Babor Country. He says, paid for Stellar Blade, but it's not a PlayStation Studio. Babor, we'll get into that more next week as we talk more and more about what's going down. But I want to say thanks for the super chats. Hit the like button. Thanks to Mash for all the donated memberships to the channel. I think he donated 30 or 40 memberships today. Shout out to the great WoolleyGamer. Great to see him there. And great to have Eric, the producer, join the family, the Mooch Maniac family members. Guys, hit the like button on the way out. There's still 200 of you here. Great turnout, great responses. Hit that like button on the way out, and we'll see you guys next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Peace out. Good night. Go play some games.